important to have a plan and understand what your goals are.
In fact, my camel out there is suffering right now with a broken back.
So I actually found Pepe when it was only a couple of hours old, and I'm like, oh, this is a funny meme.
Oh my god.
Yo! Who is this degen?
The old man is swing trading over years at a time. And it's like, that's where the real money is made.
The answer is a permanent loss. With single-sided staking, you don't have to worry about impermanent loss.
Really, at the end of the day, it's just the matter of a macro market. It's just what happens.
If you're aware, if you're disciplined, you can hone that into further financial growth.
Financial freedom, so we can actually live life and not have to be constantly living paycheck to paycheck. I mean, that's the ultimate goal, more or less, right?
Ladies, gentlemen, and D-gentlemen, welcome back to another Friday episode of the D-Gen Roundtable Book Club. Tonight we're doing a bit of a redo, if you will. We are covering The Speed of Trust. Didn't feel like we did it justice the first time, and we think it's a very important book, so we're going to hit it again. This book was recommended to us courtesy of our dear friend Reginald Gerald III, aka RG3 of the Discourse Syndicate. That's right. Go make sure you use his full name whenever you talk to him. Reginald Gerald III. There you go. You're welcome. Outside of that, though, we are very excited to be back with you again. We have an excellent cast of crew and characters here tonight. I am joined by my excellent co-host, Mr. Will Stevenson. How you doing, buddy?
Aloha, amigos. Glad to be here. Ready to fucking rock and roll into it. It's been nothing but an excellent series of days since we did our last show on Wednesday. So looking forward to getting into it. This is a great book, by the way. I love rereading this, and I'm probably going to have to reread it again, but I'm stoked and I'm ready to get into it. For the folks at home who don't know who I am, my name is Will Stevenson. I'm an iron worker that travels around the United States building TV and radio towers. In my free time, I like to talk crypto. So let's freaking go, bro. Let's get into it. Dr. Alan Chen, you're looking a little bit unusual there today. I see you've got a costume on. How are you doing? What's new with you?
Well, during the intro, I zoomed through China and back just because I'm the Flash. And I could say one thing for certain. It was made in a lab.
It was made in a lab.
So, since our last book club when we did Think Like a Roman Emperor, that book definitely was a game-changing book for me. I, since then, delved into more Stoic philosophy and started to read more into it. And I definitely was able to change some of my habits as a result. And, I could say that, my mood and my state of being has gotten a lot better over time. And if you haven't read that book, I highly recommend it. And also watch that prior episode too, because that was a great episode. And it's got great applicability that you can use right now. So I'm looking forward to this book club as well. This is an excellent book, as Will said. So looking forward to talking about all the things that make hospitals a no-trust system. Everything that you shouldn't do was basically personified in that book. Spoiler alert, that's what I'm going to be talking about. But for those of you who don't know, I'm a physician. I work in pediatric radiology currently, and I also have a YouTube channel of my own talking about health and the failures of the healthcare system as we see it right now. So this is a great segue for me. And also talking about how you can avoid getting into the black hole that is the hospital systems, medication, big pharma, big food, and try to take control of your own health. So that is my, if I'm pointing to it correctly, my handle, but you can guys can check me out there. But I'm looking forward to talking more about this book. So let's do it.
Absolutely. Before we get into it, I will say there is a bit of a backstory and also great irony in it, which is that I think the first time I met RG3 in person, one of the questions I had for him was, how do you create leadership in decentralized finance, aka crypto, which is inherently designed to operate on trustless systems, which is that you don't have to trust anybody. And we're also definitely in the social media sphere now. We are unfortunately influencers, whether or not you like that word, but that's what we are at this point. So my question with him was, how do you build leadership in this kind of environment? And his answer to that question was effectively this book. So that's why we cover it. That's why we love it. And that's why we like talking about it. But yeah, it's it's an interesting topic for sure. But at the end of it, I really like this book because it breaks it down into a quantifiable metric as opposed to just some fugazi. It's a woozy, it's a wazi. It's on ethereal. This one actually takes the non-physical and puts a little bit of like some rather napkin math to it, but it's something to latch onto, which is nice. So with that being said, Will, do we have any good people in the audience that we should give a quick shout out to?
Yes, we do indeed. It's time for chat motherfucking shout outs, ladies and germs. One of the best parts of the show where we get to interact with the audience just as much as they interact with us. So you want to read through them as I click them?
Absolutely.
All right, here we go.
First and foremost, Tam Tam coming in first year, even beating out 54 Cent wherever he's at. She says, "What's up, fam? It is great to see you as always. Thank you so much for joining us. It's always a pleasure to have you here with us." Up next, we got Amber Simone saying, "Hello. Hello to you too. Happy Friday to everybody out there catching the book club instead of like, I don't know, going to the bars, partying, whatever, playing some late night golf." Unfortunately, they kicked me out of there, so I gotta be here, you know.
It's all good.
Up next, we got Cassie Kelly. Says, "The freaking cackle I just made when I saw the thumbnail. I have not even seen this. Will, what on earth did you do? Did you give us a Microsoft Paint thumbnail?" Oh, yep.
Looks like it. Yeah.
I definitely
He even
did do a
included the
Microsoft
toolbar.
Yep, I did.
I'm not gonna lie, I was
Oh,
expecting you to maybe like grab the old thumbnail and then Microsoft Paint over it, but you know what?
I probably
We do it
could have
live.
done that.
We
But
do it
like
live.
I realized about maybe 30 minutes before the show went live that like we needed a thumbnail, and I was like, I keep doing this over and over again. I keep dropping the producer ball when I'm needed to be producer. So it's just like it is what it is. But yes, I did make a fantastic thumbnail for this show, just for you guys, just for you at home. Your very own Microsoft Paint style thumbnail. But yeah, that's all we got for the chat shout outs for now. So shout out to all you guys that are watching. We've got 30 folks with us live right now. So let's go ahead and hop on into it, broski. Do you have a summary of the book for us, Mr. Z?
I do. So the book is by Stephen Covey. You might recognize his father from the other guy that wrote a few other excellent books out there, but they have the Covey Institute, which helps produce a lot of the books that they talk about. And they're very, very well regarded, I got to say, in like just everyday life and especially in the business world. It is a name you're definitely going to recognize. In fact, there's even one point in the book where the guy tells a story about how he accidentally left his wife on the side of the road because he heard a door close and thought she was in the back, but he drove off without her because he thought she was just sleeping back there. And the highwayman that helped assist reunite them was like, "Wait a minute, I know that guy. He writes books, doesn't he?" There you go.
Yep.
All right. So Speed of Trust, it breaks down into a plethora of stories with an overarching concept. You get a lot of case studies all along the way, from Stephen Covey leaving his wife on the side of the highway by accident to Warren Buffett talking about how he does deals and why people love dealing with him so much. And for all the sports ball fans out there, I believe there is Andy Roddick. He's a tennis guy. There's a story about him as well, talking about making calls that are disadvantageous to himself for the purpose of building up credibility, so that you know, next time he wants to challenge a call, they actually treat him like he's being honest instead of just trying to get away with one.
I saw that match, by the way.
Oh yeah,
yeah, I saw that live. Yeah,
that's
nice.
wild.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys knew that. I'm a tennis fan, but anyway.
Yep. Huge tennis.
Oh shoot, do you play?
I used to play. Oh gosh, I played for 14 years and I just suddenly stopped. And then now I play paddle and unfortunately pickleball.
Oh, womp womp.
No, it's easier on me in terms of like tennis. I gotta like prep and do all this things, and it's definitely a workout in itself. It's very difficult. It's the pros make it so easy on the court and on TV, but it's way harder than it actually is. But paddle and pickle are, much easier on the joints. It's a little more fun and everybody can play. It's pretty easy to learn.
Absolutely. I can confirm my shoulder always feels a little strained after I play. I only play because my two brothers and my mom, they all play like semi-competitively, like they have leagues or they played in high school, or my older brother at one point actually wanted to, he didn't have a lot of time between jobs, or he had a lot of time between jobs. So he's like, you know what, I'm going to try to get good and play in some amateur tournaments. So I picked it up to keep up with them so I don't embarrass myself when I'm the fourth.
Yeah. But,
all right. Enough sports ball. Back to the summary. All right. We have lots of the stories. They're the best stories. Everyone tells me the best stories out there. I say, wow, what a story. Anyways, So the book really breaks down into 3 key points, rather. First off, we have the core competencies, which is Stephen Covey breaks down what it is to be trustworthy. He breaks it down into 4 different items, but they really fit into 2 categories. That's part 1 of the book. Part 2 is exploring how to make yourself more trustworthy, focusing on each of the cores, talking about how you can improve them. And then one of the nice things about this book that I really enjoyed is talking about how you can actually take these things too far. Gives examples of like, you can take this to the point where it becomes a fault. There's a nice middle ground. So I appreciate the balance in that one. After that, we get into what are the 5 levels of trust and where they exist. So this is going to be like self-competence, trust within a group, trust within a corporation, market trust, and societal trust. Breaks down all 5, talks about how trust is applied and how they all fit together and how you really need to have one to have the other, to have the other, to have the other. So it's kind of the idea that level 5 is societal trust. You can't really have societal trust unless people are trustworthy as individuals and then trustworthy within individual relationships, because that is the basis of all society. Go figure, right?
Yeah.
All right. That is pretty much the summary for the show, or for the book. And I guess the show, because it's pretty much what we're going to be talking about tonight. A little anecdotes here and there, little personal stories as well. And then we're also going to be breaking down what we think of the cores and what we think of how to improve them. But first, there is one other very important part of the book that I want to share. So, Mr. Will Stevenson, if you don't mind, I have a screen share for you. As part of the book, excuse me, you can actually grade yourself on how trustworthy you are. And there's even scores at the end based on how you're doing.
Ooh.
So I don't know if you guys remember this from the book and if you graded yourself or not.
I think not.
I don't remember this.
Well, here we are. We're going to run through it real quick. So part 1, on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being, I sometimes justify telling white lies, misrepresent people or situations, or spin the truth to get the results that I want. That being a 1. Number 5 being, at every level, I am thoroughly honest in my interactions with others.
Well, you can technically spin the truth on this questionnaire and give yourself all 5s.
It's almost like they made that a preface to this one and said, hey,
right.
be honest.
Anyway.
Man, I like see myself as both a 1 and a 5 and not a 3. So it's just, I guess I'm a 3.
You might see yourself as a bit of a super spy. I've been rewatching a lot of Burn Notice. I really like that show.
Oh yeah.
I mean, Michael Weston is a good dude in it, but at the same time, he's definitely a spy. So he's like, you got to lie to people to protect certain information. All right, on to the next one.
Yeah.
Number 1 being, at times, there's a mismatch between what I think and what I say, or between my values and my actions. Number 5, what I say and do is what I really think and feel. I consistently walk my talk. I mean,
are we like saying out loud what our scores are?
You don't have to, but you can give me your opinions on where you.
Easy.
I would wholeheartedly agree with that. As someone that has hung out with Will in person a handful of times, and I talk to him on a weekly basis, pretty much, actually more than a weekly basis.
Yeah.
Will, I will say, my friend, you walk your talk. You have everything in perfect alignment, my friend, and that is one of the things I really appreciate about you.
Probably
fault. Yeah, I feel like somebody else should rate another person. Like somebody close to you should actually fill that out for somebody else.
Ooh, yeah, that would be good.
That's fair.
A self-analysis and then like compare it against other people's.
Yeah, because I'm definitely hard on myself. So like I'll probably, and I'll also give myself fractions because I like math. So
it's the Asian. It's the Asian inside of you. You can't
I think that'd actually be much better to have somebody else rate you that knows you very well. Yeah. So
all right, we'll keep it going here. Number 3, I am not fully clear on my values. It's difficult for me to stand up for something when others disagree. And on the other side, I am clear on my values and courageous in standing up for them. Old courage question. I like it. All right, keep it rolling here. Number 1, it's hard for me to acknowledge that someone else may be right or that there is additional information out there that may cause me to change my mind. Number 5, I'm genuinely open to the possibility of learning new ideas that may cause me to rethink issues or even redefine values. I'll say this one. I think I'm on the 5 side to a fault sometimes, because I always try to operate under the assumption that there are people that know a hell of a lot more than I do. I should probably shut up and listen more often.
I agree. You are very good at that, Zenith, at being adaptable. And like Alan, you too, like just being open to new ideas and new things is super uncommon. And that's why, like, I think that's why I find myself hanging out in both of your gentlemen's company all the time. Is like, one, we're all like prior military in some way, shape, or form, right? And then also like the adaptability is pretty damn necessary in those fields. But like, yeah, there's not a lot of folks that are genuinely interested in learning new things. So I would agree that that you two gentlemen are both fives in this regard.
And I'm thinking to myself, like, a lot of my colleagues, I'm like, one.
You walk into a room and everyone thinks that they're the smartest one in there.
Hey, hopefully none of the other doctors are watching this, or if they are watching the stream,
they should read the book.
The idea.
Read the damn book.
Yeah. Hey, to all the other doctors out there that work with Alan, hopefully you guys are interested in learning new things.
Some are more than others. I'll give some of them 3s and 4s and all that stuff. But
excellent.
Yeah, it's oof. I can name. Oh man, I could already think of people in my head.
What do we got for the next one, Z? Let's push.
I have a difficult time setting or achieving personal goals or commitments. Or number 5, I am able to consistently make and keep commitments to myself and others.
Hell yeah. Let's pop on through these. We don't need to dwell on them for very long. We got 4 pages of this, right?
Fair enough. We'll go quick. Okay. All right, part 2, different category here. I don't really care that much about people, except for those closest to me. It's hard for me to think about concerns outside of my own challenges in life. On the other side, we have, I genuinely care about other people and deeply concerned about the well-being of others.
That's one I may not give myself a 5. Yeah, I'm kind of in the middle on that one because it's just I have only so many fucks to give, you know.
This is true, and the older I get, the more curmudgeonly I get as well. And I almost feel like this one kind of actually goes slightly against some of the Stoic principles we talked about previously, which is like you can only control what you can control, so don't care about the rest. And it's like I can really only control myself, so I really shouldn't try to control or care too much about other people pleasing me.
I'm an unabashed one, like no hesitancy on this one. I'm definitely I only care about myself.
Some might call that headstrong, my friend. All right, let's keep it going. I don't think a lot about what I do or about why I do what I do. I've rarely, if ever, tried to do deep interior work to improve my motives. Or on the other side, we have, I'm consciously aware of my motives and I refine them to make sure that I'm doing the right things for the right reasons. Trying to put a lot of thought behind your actions on that one, I think.
Yeah.
All right, next one. We got, in my dealings with others, I usually focus on getting what I want. And on the other side, I actively seek solutions that provide a win for everyone involved. The classic win-win.
Those could both be applicable, but I like it.
All right, keep it going. We got, based on my own behavior, most people wouldn't necessarily think that I had their best interests in mind. And on the other side, other people can clearly tell by the things that I do that I really do have their best interests in mind.
I don't necessarily think these are like
opposites. Yeah, they're not
opposites. You know, like this can be symbiotic.
Well, take it up with Stephen Covey.
Yeah, I suppose so. I'm going to read the next one so that way you get a break. Deep down, I believe that if someone else gets something, resources, opportunities, or credit, then that means that I don't. And on the other side of the spectrum, I sincerely believe that there is more than enough of everything to go around.
Mr. Will Stevenson, what would you describe the number 5 as if you had to give it a word or a phrase?
If I could, I would say abundance mindset versus
there it is.
Mindset. Thank you for teeing me up for that one.
There you go. Man. Abundance mentality, or on the other side, zero-sum game. That's what that one's highlighting. Alrighty. Halfway through. Part 3. Number 1 says, I feel like I'm not really utilizing my talents in my current job. And number 5 is, there's a high match between my talents and my opportunities in the work that I'm doing. Just utilization on that one. All right, next one we have, I've not gained the knowledge or fully developed the skills I need to really be effective at work. And on the other side, I have acquired the knowledge and mastered the skills required to do my job. Good old mastery. Up next, we got number 1. I seldom take time to improve my knowledge and skills at work or in any other area of life. Number 5 is I relentlessly upgrade and increase my knowledge and skills in all the important areas of life. Important areas, I think, is a key caveat there. Take it.
Yeah,
I'll take it. I got it. I'm not really sure what my strengths are. I am more focused on trying to improve in my areas of weakness, or I've identified my strengths and my greatest focus is on using them effectively.
That's sort of symbiotic too. Like I feel like
Both.
I have strengths, but I definitely want to work on my weaknesses too. I don't know. It's yeah, interesting.
I think the key to this question is whether or not you know what they are. Like, have you been able to identify them, or do you just feel very unsure about like who you are and what you're good at?
True. Yeah.
Alrighty, last one. At this point, I really don't know much about how to build trust, or on the other side, I know how to effectively establish, grow, extend, and restore trust, and I consciously work to make it happen.
That's pretty.
Alrighty. Final one here. Number 1. I don't have a very good track record. My resume certainly won't knock anyone's socks off. And on number 5, my track record clearly gives others the confidence that I will achieve desired results.
I wonder how many ways there are of like documenting your track record. I mean, there's like there's resumes, there's Instagram, there's like bodies of work, there's testimonials, websites, podcasts, like all sorts of things exist nowadays that are just like give you the ability to prove who you are and what you say you do, rather than
I would say that all of those are part of that body of work as you're talking about.
Yeah,
it's an all-encompassing thing.
Due diligence.
All right, next one we got. I focus my efforts on doing what I've been told to. Or number 5, I focus my efforts on delivering results, not activities.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah, that's a big concept of the book.
There you go. Are you just there to hit trees with an axe, or are you there to chop trees down?
Yep. When it comes to communicating my track record, either I don't say anything, don't want to come across as bragging, or I say too much and turn people off. And on the other side of the spectrum, I appropriately communicate my track record to others in a way that inspires confidence.
Communication right there, or effective salesmanship, one might say. Alrighty, next one we have. I often fail to finish what I start, or on the other side, with the rare exception, if I start something, I finish it. And last but not least, tell you what, Alan, take this one away.
I don't worry as much about how I get results, just that I get them. And I consistently get results in ways that inspire trust. That's a big theme in the book too. Yeah, big theme.
It is. All right, gentlemen, I guess a little pop quiz time for you here. So page 1, talking about values and aligning yourself with your values. What do you think this core is?
Oh, each page is
Integrity.
a core.
Yeah.
This is the integrity core. Exactly. It's whether you live up to what you say and what you think and what you spout.
Yeah.
All right. Core number 2, talking about treating other people well and trying to have other people's best interests at heart. Which core is this?
Intent.
There you go. Well done, sir. Number 3, utilizing your talents and improving yourself and gaining knowledge. Which core is this?
Capability.
This is capability, or competency is the other word they use for it in the book.
Yep. C's.
And last but not least, what do we have? It's talking about your resume, your track record.
Results. That's
results, baby.
Yeah. Results. It's all about the results.
There you go. All right, Will, pulling it down.
Man, I'm just saying. Hang on. I gotta do producer chair. Where's the cameras? There it is. There's the cameras, and there's the background.
It's all good, man. You're doing great. You're doing great.
Got it. Yep. I was about to say, I was about to jump in the conversation, and it's like, oh shit! I totally forgot what the core 4 words were, and I was like, man, I hope Alan knows these all because
I got you, bro. It's all good, man.
If he asks me, I'm just gonna be like,
that's why I'm here. That's why I'm here, bro.
Oh man! By the way, we've had an extra chat shout out, gentlemen. Hop on in. So we've got Mr. Hexkin Lost in Asia saying, "Hey, Degens, thanks for the show. Abso-fucking-lutely.
Thanks for showing up, brother."
He's got a thought on what we were just talking about as well. Your body of work, Will, is your Ethereum crypto address. Nothing more, nothing less. You do the work, no expectations.
Yeah, everyone can see all the shit coins you bought.
All the shit coins you bought, all the trades you make, all the hex you've staked, and all the fucking millions of dollars you've lost. So there you go.
There you go. Shoot, I remember we were in Vegas for the Pulse conference this last year, and Miguel, Dollar Cost Crypto, he was on stage with B Roots and some other guys, and one of the things that they all talked about, they're like, "Look, we've all fumbled multi-million-dollar bags before," and it was just crazy to think about that. think about the amount of zeros, the possibilities, just like how you go about doing it. And it's just like, look, I thought I had something, but I wasn't convinced. So I sat out. Instead, if I had made the exact same move I would have made, would have been literal millions of dollars. It's like that's wild to think about. Yeah, sometimes you hit them, sometimes you don't. Sometimes you psych yourself out.
It's fucking nuts, man. Just thinking about how much money I'm going to fumble whenever like well, how much money I've already fumbled definitively is like just blows my mind. And it's like, fiddlesticks. I hope people don't follow my advice because I don't give good financial advice.
Well, hopefully we've been talking about risk management enough that all of us have incorporated it to some degree to protect ourselves from downsides, but I am right there with you. There were many a scratcher bet that I made that did not pan out. And in fact, I think I definitely had one go to like literal zero. I think I might have a second, but
yep.
I'll give you one light at the end of the tunnel. Here is that you'd be surprised at how many opportunities there are to gain wealth that sometimes we just don't see them. All you got to do is just this is my sort of how I think is, keep your eyes open for the opportunities at the very least, and you may not get everything, but there's definitely going to be no shortage of them. It's abundance mentality. It's always going to be there. You just got to look for it.
Absolutely. I think one of the analogies that I've heard on it is it's raining money outside. All you have to do is step outside and get wet.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have any windows to see that it's raining. You can't really see the opportunities, especially if you're a bit of an overthinker like I am. It's hard to, it's very easy to overthink yourself into a position and believe that you know nothing when in reality, you just got to get there and swing, man. Just go take a shot.
Swing.
Alrighty. Back to the 4 core competencies. We talked about them. We have integrity, intent. That's the character side of the house. That's the one of the 2 categories. And the other is the competency category, if you will. So we have actual capabilities and results, aka what you're able to do and your proven track record. Those are the 4 competencies. And each one of those are, according to Stephen Covey, are very integral to building trust, because people have to know that you're honest. They have to know that you have good intentions. And they have to know that you're capable of achieving what you're saying, what you're going to do. And having a proven track record shows that you've done it before. Odds are you'll do it again. So let's talk about these one at a time. So for the integrity piece, I think it's very easy to, especially in today's day and age, the current year is 2025. Would you gentlemen say that integrity is at an all-time high?
No.
It's tough, man. The way social media is designed, it's so easy to fuck that up. It's hard to not just maintain integrity, but also to demonstrate integrity, because everybody's just kind of sus of each other, no matter what it is,
There's also like a marketing angle to it as well. If you're a great person, for most of your life and most of your existence, and then that doesn't get a huge audience, or it doesn't get a huge, if that's not marketed very well, and then you make one mistake and that gets marketed super well and everybody knows about it, then all the amount of work that you spend building up all this credibility can go to zero because something else is marketed better. And generally, things that are dramatic and things that are horrible are marketed way better, and they get way stickier, and they're way more public and viral than all of the good things that you do. So the harsh reality of the internet world is that you can spend your whole life building up a brand and then destroy it very quickly with one small thing, So it's not just a game of building and living the trust. It's also a game of being very cognizant of the world that we live in and the way that the hive mind works on this wonderful internet tool.
I would agree with you. Go for it.
It is also pretty. You're going to get if you don't have integrity, if you really don't have capability, on social media, you'll eventually get found out. The truth will eventually come out. So it actually, I feel like that's a little simpler to kind of be able to call people out, because just based on how they react to being called out, if they actually accept it and do something about it versus they just double down and continue doing what they're doing. That's been the comment section is a good example of that, where how they react to all that kind of the negative press, so to speak. That's been a new way to sort of suss people out, at least in the social media age.
Definitely. Gosh, social media is just such a big factor in the world that we live in right now, because there's a lot, like, pretty much everybody's on social media to some degree, especially if you're trying to do business of some kind. If you're not leveraging social media, I think you're either in a field where you're dealing predominantly with people that are not engaged with that, aka people that have abstained from the technology, or if you're just kind of behind the curve. So I don't mean to be rude here, but it's kind of the old folks. And at the same time, the way that social media has been run is that it really prioritizes and focuses on the things that drive human engagement, which unfortunately, the stronger of the human emotions is not like joy and happiness. It's more of disgust and rage. So we see a lot of things getting pushed out there, which is like rage bait, or trying to show all the lust and the greed and the overconsumption of everything. So that's the stuff that gets pushed most. And when you're in this oversaturated field, you kind of feel like everybody has to like one up each other on each of those levels. And that's where you can really see that integrity breakdown, which is like, are you actually doing what you're saying you're doing? Or are you over sensationalizing, overselling, over promising, or even sometimes just straight up lying just to get attention, because the social media is the attention economy. So stuff like that, in my opinion, really breaks down that integrity side of things. What do you guys think?
Can you sum that up in one sentence? Because that was a lot.
Social media drives you to do more outrageous things.
Yes.
When you run out of physical things you can do, you just start lying.
Yeah, you have to. I mean, me starting out, you have to make that choice pretty early. Where do you want to? How fast do you want to build your credibility and your trust? And is it worth going viral for that? For the clickbait and the rage bait and whatnot. And I mean, for me, like I have not gone viral, so to speak. It's been a slow grind, but I mean, me personally, I prefer it that way because I'm staying true to myself, and it's easier that way. Whereas if I have to put up a facade every single time I'm on the camera, and I'm not myself, I do things that I'm not comfortable doing, I'm eventually going to get found out, and that's where I don't want to lose the building up of integrity. And we, through this book, trust, at least foundational trust is built gradually over time, but also it could be knocked down in less than 5 minutes if you break that trust quite badly. So that's a choice that you got to make, especially if you're going to do more content creation from the get-go, is commit to whether you want to go viral or you want to actually build a brand that's worth your reputation and that's true to yourself.
I wonder sometimes, like, what the people before us would have done if they'd have known the after effect and the fallout of like what changed when they like finally started jumping the shark or started selling out to like, the bigger brands or doing the viral clips. Would Mr. Beast be in the same place that he is now if he would have known the things that he knew, or not to say that Mr. Beast is a bad dude, but just taking him as an example is because he's like a super, super popular viral guy, right? Like he does things now for a reason. I know that my middle brother, Ed, he works for a YouTube company. He makes thumbnails for a living. I should probably go take some notes from him for fuck's sake. But he works for a very, very popular YouTube channel making thumbnails and doing content for them. And so they do things in a certain way over there, and they have a certain brand and they sell to a certain category of people. And like, I wonder, so we have the benefit of seeing like 15 to 20 years of social media content. Like, man, I was just looking this up. Facebook was created in February of 2004. So like social media is barely 20 years old, and we've already got so much information on everything in the world. And there's just so much more noise now on the internet than there was like back in the day. And it's just freaking crazy, like what happens in 20 years. So like just extrapolating that out, right? Like, so I'm 32 now. I was 12 when Facebook got created. It's just absolutely bonkers, man. Where was I going with this? I don't remember where I was going. The point is, like, there's things that, you know, when you hop on camera, when you write a book, when you perform at a theater or something, like you're projecting an image out into the public, and that's very real. And there's going to be consequences. Or like if you run for office, if you're a political figure, you become an influencer. You become a person that people listen to. And like whether they act based on the things that you say or not, you're still like out there casting spells, and they're absorbing the things you say. Or like on a radio talk show or on TV, any sort of person that creates any sort of thing that is for public consumption is, to some metric, some kind of person who influences others. Mm-hmm. So it's a strange word, and like it's kind of scary to think about at times, because here we are, you know, just some assholes on the internet talking about our feelings about a book that we thought was cool, right? And like I think it's genuine. It's good. It's trustworthy, right? We're not putting up too much of a front. We're all pretty much just the way that we are on stream as we are in real life, you know. Like yeah. You certainly wear the you wear the masks a whole lot less. The flash masks. It's more of the doctor masks for you.
There's more where this came from. I'll tell you what.
Oh yeah, dude. I love your costume. Dude, your costume collection is fucking awesome, man. But back to like the point of like the trust and the content creation. Like I think that if there's anyone out there in the audience right now that's thinking about becoming a content creator, or thinking about just like going on the internet and talking with your friends, you know, whether you want to do it on Twitch and stream the stuff, or do it on YouTube and X like we're doing, like I would say totally go for it and try and present your best self, and try and be honest, and try and build trust and credibility with your followers. Don't go for it. There's also a difference in the type of people that consume your content. If you go for the viral stuff, you're going to get viral consumers. You're going to get viral style audience members. And like, I think that there's a difference in value between an audience and a community that likes people because of who they are, versus the value and the dedication and the awesomeness of a community that like you because you did something viral. So like take that for what it's worth. I'm more than happy to hang out with any member that watches the DGen Roundtable live stream. I don't know if I'd be willing to hang out with anybody who watches Mr. Beast. So like there's just there's a difference in audience member, and like I don't know. These are just some of my thoughts and some of my mullings. What do you guys think? Am I taking us away from the book here a bit much?
It's a great point. Yeah, I mean, your quality of followers matter as well, and they actually contribute to your reputation as well. So yeah, no, that definitely matters, and that's something that you got to decide early on.
Mm-hmm.
It's something that I think I've seen with some other influencers out there. They talk about how there isn't one singular audience on the internet. You have to grow an audience, because you have to capture the attention of people that care about what you're talking about or care about you. And as part of that is, especially if you're going for the aspect of they care about what you're talking about, if they don't believe that you're being honest about what you're talking about, or you're just wrong all the time, then that's going to be the part where you really turn people off and you fail to really, really grow, because you're just going to have high churn, which is people show up, they realize you don't know what you're talking about, or you're not credible, or you're not honest about it. And in which case they're going to tune out and go find some other information or content elsewhere where they think that they're not being lied to.
Yeah. Or at least unentertained. You know, if you're not going to tell me the truth, then, you know, show me some cat videos or something.
Yeah, if you're going to be wrong, at least be entertaining, right?
I guess so.
Yeah, and that's specifically with my channel, because I mean, I have the burden of being correct, because I have a degree next to my name.
Yep.
And you know, I have had comments about me being wrong when I've admitted to it. Like that's the thing. Like, I'm not here to say I'm perfect. Oh God, far from it. But at the very least, though, if you're going to be wrong, and we're all going to do it at some point, you know, you own up to it. Like, and that will contribute to your integrity, because you're acknowledging the fact that, you know, you can be wrong at some point, and then correcting it, taking corrective behaviors to make sure to make things right and at least learn from it. And then, you know, that's much better than just either doubling down or just like, or, you know, taking down whoever's trying to make those comments. That to me is more sus. If you try to like delete those comments or pretend they don't exist.
Yeah, that's true. I think that there's kind of a weird prisoner's dilemma that's kind of evolved with not just social media, but the current day and age, which is that it feels like everyone has nothing to lose. Therefore, if you have nothing to lose, you only have everything to gain. And that's where you get into those situations where it feels like the opportunity to lie, cheat, or steal, or be dishonest. It's like, if you're caught, well, guess what? No one knows who you are in the first place, so you can probably just rebrand and try again at some point. But it kind of goes to the idea that, especially when it comes to society where you interact face to face, you have to build trust with people because you interact with them. They know your face, they know your name, they know your parents, where you grew up, that kind of crap. On the internet, it's no one knows who you are. You're just whatever username you choose to be and whatever anime profile picture you choose to slap on there. And that's where you can just constantly have this turn. So the prisoner's dilemma is like, do I try to be sensational and over exaggerate and just kind of be a bit of a liar to gain attention and hope that no one finds out? Because that's the positive side. And then if the negative side's zero, then there's effectively no downside to doing it. So I think it's a very tempting offer to really kind of sell your soul.
Be an asshole on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that right there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, it is tempting, and you see that a lot on Facebook, even with people that have their real whole name up. You know, like it was super common in on like back when 4chan was super anonymous back in the day, for people to just be total assholes, and also for people to give like the unabridged and unadulterated truth with unflattering things and all. But like, there's a benefit to having a culture of anonymity, and then there's also the benefit of having like some sort of reputation at stake. So I don't know, double-sided sword, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's the direction you were taking it, Mr. Zenith.
I think that covers it nicely.
Yeah.
Okay.
Tell you what, let's move on to the next one. So
Okey-doke.
I think I find it fascinating that this, back in the day, before I was even a thought, was that one of the great insults to people was telling people that they're selling out to the man. Your band signed with a label. You're selling out, dude. It's not having the proper intention. That's the core that I want to focus on here. It's building intention, or at least in this case, what Stephen Covey talks about in the book is having intention for other people. Is that the intent is not to, like, your actions are not entirely self-enriching. The intention should be that you're trying to help everyone together, as opposed to only helping yourself and screwing over other people. The intent, I think, is where it's I guess the word that we use for it nowadays is authenticity. It's saying, is someone being authentic, or do they have a hidden motive here? Are they doing this to try to just grow a YouTube channel to get sweet Raid Shadow Legends ads on their page? Or are they doing it because they actually believe in what they're doing and they want to have a good effect on the world?
I think everyone to some degree wants to have a good effect on the world. It's just whether how tight is that ring of selfishness around like your own personal self versus like including everyone else. How much effort are you going to expend on everyone versus just yourself?
Well, doing this stuff is not cheap either. You gotta, especially for those that are like trying to make it or use or make this their livelihoods. This is not my livelihood, by the way. I make money other ways, but that's how I'm able to like say the shit that I say and also do it, at a loss. But for a lot of people, especially when this is kind of their baby, sometimes you got to make those kinds of choices. And how much of your integrity do you want to sacrifice as a result for just trying to keep the lights on? That comes down to a lack of abundance mentality as well. It says a lot about the state of character, I guess, of an influencer. I mean, it depends on what it is. I mean, if something is innocuous as Raid Shadow Legends or something like that, it's not that big of a deal. But if it's something like Pfizer, for example, or McDonald's or something that actually could hurt people, that's different. So it's just you have to make those decisions, especially if this is your livelihood or how you make your living. You gotta come to those decisions at some point. They're not easy decisions to make.
I'll say that, like, for me anyways, as soon as I see an advertisement on someone's YouTube channel, I immediately discredit everything that they say. And it's like, oh, you're here to sell to me. So this is all just a great big long marketing ploy. It's like, you are no longer cool man giving me information that I like. You're now a person trying to capture my attention so you can sneak a product in there, especially if it's something like Raid Shadow Legends, you know? Like, if you guys ever see a Raid Shadow Legends advertisement on the DGen Roundtable, you can probably turn it off because we're probably dead. And like, we've been replaced by AI, and China's like, you know, made copies of us or something.
So Will, I'll caveat that. So sometimes I drop private MD labs, and I use them all the time.
And that's something that's like yours and you believe in. And so like that's attached to your reputation, right? I'm not going to tie my reputation to Raid Shadow Legends. You know, I'm not going to say like, hey guys, I spent 2 years of my life hanging out with my friends and talking about really cool things on the internet just so you guys can get a stupid little like fucking intermittent reward pecking game, you know, like what if you think about any sort of game on your phone where you just push a button, it's like that pigeon that sits there and pecks the button. And after the pigeon pecks the button a random number generator amount of times, a little bit of bird seed comes out and the pigeon just sits there pecking the button, waiting for the next bird seed. You know, it's the same thing with like, same thing with a lot of stuff in life. So like there's certain things that people are interested in putting their reputation out on. Like, so Joe Rogan, for instance, is he's one of the co-founders of the On It fitness company, right? And they sell, you know, workout equipment, and they sell like t-shirts and merchandise and stuff like that. And he talks about On It on his podcast, like from time to time. And it's like, it makes sense. He started that company. It sells the things that he believes in. It's on brand. It's part of his thing, you know? So like, when you see Slayer start to say like, hey guys, this Slayer concert is brought to you by Gatorade or something, you know, like it's got electrolytes or some shilly, like they didn't actually do that. So sorry, Slayer. I don't mean to be discrediting you guys. Just this is an example, but like when you see that sort of thing, it really takes away the credibility and it takes away the brand of the person, and like you trade it in for money. So if you're willing to do that, if you're willing to trade your reputation for money, then hey, that's a way to do it. You build up an audience, you get them entertained on something, you snag their attention economy, and then you start putting in ads, and then a certain percentage of them will click on those ads, and that'll earn you dollars. So like there is a trade-off of like work and entertainment for reward. It's just a matter of, do you want to like be do you want your reputation of the content that you're creating to be the thing that's associated to this ad? An alternative to this sort of thing is like, if you just create a meme channel on Instagram, right? If you just find all these fantastic and awesome memes, let's say for instance, you go to the DGen Roundtable Telegram and you go to our not safe for work meme zone and you just copy and paste all those memes. You create a Telegram, or not a Telegram, you create an Instagram, and you just post these fire awesome memes all day long until eventually you start getting tens and thousands of followers and likes. And then you start anonymously putting in advertisements in there. Then it's like, that's not tied to your, as an individual's credibility. It's not tied to your reputation, because like you're giving people like meme dopamine. And then if they see a cool advertisement for like a squirt gun or something, they're like, oh, I like memes. Oh, squirt guns are cool too. Gonna buy the squirt gun. It's totally different than if you see us talking here on the DGen Roundtable, and then all of a sudden, like a big giant squirt gun commercial pops up, and you're like, hey, time for squirt guns, brought to you by the DGen Round. Like it does not follow. It's a non sequitur. So there's a time and a place for advertisements, and there's an appropriate methodology to assign those to some sort of attention making economy. But if I'm watching some sort of podcast, or if I'm watching some sort of like, you know, YouTube University guy, and then all of a sudden a thing pops up for like some random, you know, fucking Raid Shadow Legends or some shit like that, right? Then I'm just going to totally discount everything they say after that, because it's like, oh, these guys are literally just farming my attention so they can push product that's not relevant to the things that they're talking about. So
I think I might take a slightly different stance when it comes to how I view advertisements on, especially like social media channels and stuff. Can you pull up Arceus's comment here? I think I'm right in line. I think I'm in alignment with this one, most recent one. He said, from good buddy Arceus, he says, I sometimes find people a little more trustworthy when they're very upfront that they're selling something, especially if they clearly differentiate what's an opinion and what is sales. I think I'm right here with you. I listen to the Poor Hammer podcast. It is a 40K podcast just talking about like the hobby, and they do a bunch of different stuff. They had this one episode that was like, it was for their, when they crossed 42,069 subscribers. They did a special Q&A episode, the 42069 episode. And it was like a 3-hour cast, and they just answered a bunch of questions. They even talked about being sponsored and whatnot. And they're like, by the way, if you ever see sponsorship on this page, just know we don't believe a word of what we're saying. We're just doing it to try to pay the bills and so that we can make more of this content for you. It's like, okay, that's being upfront about it. That's laying out the intent. Look, the intent is we are here to make the best possible content for you. As part of that, we are trying to ensure that we have funding so we can keep things high caliber, high quality, keep it rolling out regularly. So it's like, look, we're making deals here. People value our time, so we sell a little bit of it. But at the same time, it's the wink and nod to everyone being like, hey, it's just an ad. You can ignore it. That might just be like me being a product of someone who grew up with the internet and like seeing the evolution and having that cynicism of like, oh, advertisement, this person just paying the bills. They don't really care about it. But then at the same time, the Poor Hammer guys, they're like, look, there are probably a few sponsorships that we actually care about. They said like, we read a lot of, we listen to a lot of audiobooks. So if Audible ever sponsored us, that'd be like the one exception to this rule. So for me, when it comes to like the being sold and selling things, I think if you can properly convey the intent, that's fine. But if you're unfortunately like many of the meme channels that I followed on Instagram, where they start off with great memes and I follow them and they start promoting a bunch of OnlyFans content because they pay them to promote it. It's like, all right, well, this life cycle has now ended and we go find a new one that's up and growing until they inevitably start doing more of the same. But
I mean, it's a money-making scheme. It works. And you're right. Yeah. There's absolutely a nuance to it. I will concede to that point and agree with you wholeheartedly. Arceus, absolutely right.
Sure. All right. Tell you what, we beat up the intent pretty good. Let's talk about probably what I imagine is going to be our favorite of the four cores.
Excellent.
Competency, baby. Sorry, awesome. Will, do you have something?
I was just going to say, speaking of competent, we've also got another chat shout out. Agent J has rolled in. He says, howdy, gang. Howdy to you too, Mr. Agent J of the DGen Roundtable. Folks, go check out Agent J's streams that he does almost every single day over there in the DGen Roundtable Telegram. You guys can find it by scanning this little QR code right here off to my side or going to t.me /@DRT. Join now. All right. Enough of the shameless plugs on the subject of advertising.
Will selling to the people. Boo.
What I'm saying is if you guys want more of what you already see, then DRT Join Now is the Telegram where you can find it. So
there you go. Free to join. Get in there. Dude, Jay's market open streams are fantastic. If you like the technical analysis and really trying to understand what's going on with the markets and the charts, that's the place to be, man. It really is.
100%.
All right. Competency, baby. This is the part that I think is probably going to resonate the most with us because we're three young-blooded or red-blooded young men out in the world to leave our mark on the world. And I think all of us are always trying to get better at what we do. So this part really resonates with us. It's the idea that if you have an important job to give to somebody, you have two equally trustworthy candidates when it comes to the character section, which is, they are both honest and they both have good intent. But one is very good at what they do, and the other is not very good at what they do. Which one of these individuals becomes more trustworthy?
I don't know.
Oh, hard question, huh?
I mean, the results are part of like trust, and like proof is part of trust. So if you don't have the results, if you don't have the proof, if you don't have the competence, then like I can trust a person's intentions. But if they deliver bad results, then it's like I'm only gonna like let you so close and so far into my life.
That's fair. I think that this is the category where the rubber really meets the road, because intent and integrity are two very soft skills when it comes to like your trustworthiness. But when it comes to your capability and your ability to actually deliver on things and your ability to constantly grow, improve, and learn, I think that's where you get the actual practical effect of trust, which is that you got to get something done. It's got to be done right. You need somebody who has the capability or the competency to do it. And typically the people that are doing that are the ones that are always trying to improve. So that way, whenever they do something, you can hope that the next time they do it, it's going to be better because they either learned a little little secret, little trick of the trade, or they've got some new knowledge along the way to get there. And as part of when we went through the self-assessment there, one of the things was there's talking about feeling like you're not utilizing yourself properly, like your talents aren't matching up to the work that you're doing, or the ability to constantly seek out new knowledge, or the ability to actually know what your strengths are or not know what your strengths are. You can have a very confident fool who believes that they're good at everything, but at the end of the day, they're not that great, but they believe it. They believe it. But at the end of the day, find out that the house wasn't properly built and the foundation is going to have to get redone.
I'll take the DEI candidate.
There you go.
So being sarcastic. But yeah, that's where, oh man, that's where, that's where the trust gets hit hard the most when it comes to that. That's for sure.
That's true. I mean, I think it's definitely been a trope, especially in the last like 20, 30 years of movies and media, where it's like, you're always trying to root for the person that has spirit. It's like they want to do it, but you don't know that they actually can do it. And it's kind of like a stroke of luck when they do it well. And that's where you get the hero's victory. The hero's
like
victory. Yeah, kind of. Not the underdog. Or I guess you could kind of say that. But the point of the underdog proving themselves is it's not getting lucky. It's proving that they have competence. It's proving that they actually learned something, were able to pull it off.
Or
exactly.
They worked their way up to it. Yeah, there's a story arc to that. Not just like you got entered in because you were checking a box.
Yeah,
it's
like
true.
the Deus Ex Machina kind of like that does not lend credence to a person's trustability. Is like, oh, the hand of God came in and saved them from this bad thing, therefore they're a trustworthy person. It's like, no, they're still stupid and incompetent. They got lucky, right? Or like some serendipity happened or something like that.
You are entirely correct. I think that this specifically has been identified as a critique of a lot of modern works lately. It's the idea of either just Deus Ex Machina or someone being a Mary Sue because they didn't earn it. They didn't actually earn the competency. They just kind of showed up and were magically amazing at everything. It's like, where's the competency? It kind of just feels like he got lucky. I got two examples for you. So the example of Deus Ex Machina. I'm a bit of a critique. I enjoy having a beverage or two and watching movies that are popular in pop culture anyway, and just yelling at the TV about all the different problems in the script. And one of them that really
we should explain what Deus Ex Machina is, probably for the folks at home, because there's probably some people out there who don't know.
So Deus Ex Machina is a Latin term where it literally talks about act of God. It originated back in old theater when there was kind of like a plot going on the stage and the actors were doing their thing, but the plot wasn't really able to get resolved credibly by the people doing what they do. So they literally have the hand or voice of God as a giant light or something, just reach in, do like a fourth wall breaking thing, reach in, solve the solution, and then make it magically work together at the end.
Yep.
That's a Deus Ex Machina. It's where nothing in this situation is actually going to work, and some outside magical force by luck or coincidence or whatever happens to resolve the situation perfectly. So the example I'll give you is in the fourth Hunger Games movie, there's a scene where Katniss and what's his face are the other one. I'm just gonna throw out there the male characters in that series are written so poorly. They're written like women. They're not written like men. They're like, all right, we have to like try to sneak into the main area and try to just figure out something. I don't know. And then they're about to get caught by the guards or whatever. And then out of nowhere, a giant airstrike happens. And then there's panic and they're like, oh, we have to get to the safety area. We can run through the cover now. And then there's like this weird moment where they do like a false flag bombing to like really do like covert ops stuff and like trick the people into believing that the Capitol did it, but it was really the rebels that blew up their own literal kids and children and women. It's stuff like that where it's like the plot was literally going nowhere. You literally backed yourself into a corner, and now you magically have to have this one random thing that was mentioned like a movie ago happen, and that's the thing that gets you out of the situation. It's stuff like that. There's no competency. No one did anything good or cool. You just were in a situation at the time, and then magically it resolved.
And the other thing that you were talking about with like the person who just became
Mary
super cool and
Sue.
awesome. I'm thinking of the what's that fucking female superhero that just like, oh yeah, I'm just great and wonderful and awesome and I never went through trials or difficult things.
Oh, that would be Captain Marvel.
Captain
Yes,
Marvel.
yes.
Yeah, where they were just like, oh yeah, you don't have some sort of like hero's journey. You don't have to like overcome some trials and like there was no bad guy that you had. It's just like, oh, bam, you're awesome, and like nothing difficult ever happens, and you don't have to earn it. Like people don't like those types of stories, and
Boring.
people are, yeah. It's like we want there to be some sort of thing to overcome. Continue, Zenith. You had a thought though.
Yeah, the reason why I know it's not you don't really think about it, but you definitely feel it.
Mhm.
And the reason that it happens, I think, is that there's investment. Thank you, Jay. It's Gale, the soldier man who does nothing and kind of gets cucked. Whatever. It's factual, canonically accurate.
Yeah.
The thing with the Mary Sue thing is that you don't. The reason that we watch stories is to get invested in the characters and see how these different characters work out well. One of the ways when you have really good storytelling, in my opinion, is when you have competent characters who are doing things competently, but eventually get pitted against each other. When you get in that situation, someone has to come out on top. It's not a fact of like, oh, I went up and the other people are fools, so we just kind of steamrolled over them. That's not interesting. It's not exciting. There's no conflict. There's no tension. It's when you get people that are competent and have earned their competency, are working towards differing goals. That's where you get real tension and real good storytelling, in my opinion. So when you get these scenarios where it's just someone who discovered that because she's Captain Marvel and she was oppressed by men the whole time and she just had to believe in herself, she can magically do literally everything better than all of the other heroes in the entire Marvel universe and just save the day out of nowhere. It's like, cool. We built up a cool game and then you smashed the Monopoly board and said, I am the winner. It's like, cool. You won the contest for biggest asshole, but like,
yeah.
True. Yeah.
Yes. Anyways, back to competency. So the reason that competency I think matters so much is because you gotta have the ace in the hole. You gotta have that one guy on the team who you know is just gonna get it done. And that's the person you rely on. And when you can rely on someone, that's when you can trust someone. You can trust them to do what they're good at and do it well because they have an understanding of who they are, what they're good at, and what their limitations are. And that's where you can start compromising the other cores, namely integrity, which is that if you start over-promising and under-delivering, you're no longer going to be an honest person because your competency has failed you from doing so.
Yeah, the other cores are empty without competency. Like that's really where it all stems from.
I would wholeheartedly agree with that.
Yeah.
What's the famous saying? It's better to be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war.
Yeah.
And that's the competency thing. It's, are you capable of handling the situation? Even if you're over prepared or over qualified for the current job, as long as you can continue to do the job, when things go south, man, at the end of the day, you're going to be the one on top.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just thinking of like a warrior, like chopping down all the plants in the fucking garden and just killing everything.
There you go.
Just purposeful misinterpretation. Sorry.
Hey, all good. Sometimes you got to get those weeds out of there. You need the big strong dude to do it, or a giant machine.
Yep.
All right, let's move on to the last one here. So we have results. I think this one's actually kind of simple to talk about because results are effectively just an extension of competency. It's an extended period of competency that you can show. I will say one of the interesting points that we talked about in the self-assessment is the point where he says, when it comes to communicating my track record, either I don't say anything, I don't want to come off as bragging, or I say too much and turn people off. And the other side of that, the 5 side, was I appropriately communicate my track record to others in a way that inspires confidence. So it's a way, there's an element to this, which is being able to communicate your track record. What do you guys think about that?
Well, it's very important. Go ahead, Alan.
Well, it's also how much do you believe in yourself that your results actually matter? That, sometimes deep down in your subconscious that you're like, man, I probably didn't, come up, or I didn't do a whole lot, and I'm just kind of now coming up with stuff out of my ass. And you sort of deep down think about that, even though you're not trying to convey that. And it can come out in various ways, depending on how you speak about things and how you behave in front of other people under the gun, so to speak. So yeah, I mean, it's how much do you believe in what you do, and if those results are actually worth talking about.
Agreed. when it comes to building a track record, I think it's also important to make sure that the track record is relevant, because it again speaks to competency. Kind of goes back there, which is that if you keep telling people you're a great gardener and they say, cool, how you know how to handle a sword? And you're like, well, I handle this rake pretty good. They're like,
Yeah.
Great. What does that mean?
Well, and then the other big point that was made in the book was activities versus results.
Bingo.
Like you can, that's actually one of the biggest points that I took away from the book in general. Was there's a big difference between those two things, because you can, you can
Hit
do a
trees with
certain
axes.
task. Yeah, you can do a certain task, but if it's not ending up getting an end result, like if you're not making the sale, but you're doing all these things like sending emails and logging stuff and whatnot, you're just doing busy work. And there's no actual means to an end and a result as a result. And so you're sort of spinning a wheel that's not doing much. It's like spinning the gerbil wheel over and over again, not getting much out of it, not getting much output.
Agreed. I mean, it's kind of what I will say, I do find it funny and humorous every time that when we're reading the books, the author is always doing this thing like, hey, stop reading books, go do the thing. It's like, cool. Are you reading books or are you actually applying knowledge?
Yeah, I had a great, quote from one of my Stoic lessons that I shared with Will, that I will share with all y'all real quick. That explains that exact point. Give me 5 seconds here.
While you're looking for that, I just want to go over the analogy that you made earlier, Zenith, which is like, you don't go around swinging axes at trees. You count how many trees you chop down and prep for lumber. It's like, I don't care how many times you hit the tree with an axe. Like, that doesn't matter to me. What matters to me is, are the trees falling over and can we use them to build this house? Like, that's the important thing. I'm not paying you to swing an axe at trees. There was another thing in the tower climbing industry. One of the older dudes told me, he's like, you're paid to climb up and down the ladder. And it's like, no, I'm not paid to climb up and down the ladder. I'm paid to fix the thing that's way up there high in the sky. Climbing the ladder is ancillary. So like, if I can ride on a steel cable that pulls me up and I can do the job faster, then I'm way more inclined to do that than climb up and down on a ladder and tire myself out and become a less effective tool for getting the job done. Alan, go ahead with the thing you wanted to say.
Well, real quick, to just jump on that real quick. They talked about the son that narrated the book. His obviously Stephen Covey's is the dad, right? Or is it both?
It's Jason.
Anyway, the son had a story when he narrated the book about his dad saying, "Okay, you have to keep the grass maintained," or something like that. It didn't matter how he did it, but it only mattered as if he did it. Like he didn't care like what methods he took, but he ended up not doing it, and that he didn't get the result, and that's why that ended up being a fail for the kid. But he ended up learning a very valuable lesson about what results actually mean, and trying to get to that from point A to point B. That's extremely important to get to that means to an end. So anyway, let me get to the quote real quick. All right. You don't become wise by collecting ideas. You become wise by living them again and again until your nervous system begins to believe you. Information without implementation is just mental masturbation. Knowledge without action isn't power. It's just trivia. That hit me hard, and that's what probably kicked my ass in trying to implement other things. Like, for example, I implemented a morning walk. Literally, the first thing I get out of bed is I usually check my phone, because that's unfortunately how I've evolved, and the hospital unfortunately gets me into that culture. But taking that morning walk, just get outside, get some fresh air, give myself permission to just unplug for a little bit, for 10 minutes. That's all I'm asking for, right? And just appreciate the presence of where I am right now. Appreciate and be thankful for what I have. Look at, just kind of hear the sounds, look at the sky, just breathe and just kind of stay in the moment. And even I've only done it for like 4 days, and my work is obviously extremely stressful, but I'm like totally like mellowed out at work. And today especially was really difficult because I had a very short turnaround time. I worked at the evening shift last night, and now I had to work days today. And I was just like, I had a headache, and I was all over the place, but I was able to manage that pretty well because, just trying to just stay focused, stay present. And again, it's all, yes, we read the book and whatnot. And then I was able to continue my education, continue my reading. But it's not until you actually implement and actually get the results and actually try the things that they're saying that you should do, to where now I can get results, and then I can actually make meaningful change. And now hopefully it'll become a routine of mine that I can take with me to improve myself even further.
There you go. Mental masturbation is the line that we've used on here multiple times before. I just think it's funny because it's multiple books that have straight up said it to us. I think Sci-Fi was one. I want to say Wolf of Wall Street was another. And then the Think Like a Roman Emperor was another that really put it in some old English, if you will. To the point, though, we were talking about it just before this, which was the idea of actually completing projects instead of just doing menial tasks. I think that's probably one that hits home right now because with, again, 2025, a lot of people feel that they just show up to work, they try to not get harassed by their manager, go take a 30-minute poop, and try to look busy the entire time. They don't really feel like they're accomplishing anything. And that's where you get all the different surveys where people say that they don't really feel fulfilled in their role. They don't feel like they're being properly utilized. They're just there to send emails effectively.
Wasn't there a stat? I think it was Chris Williamson that put this up on one of his pages, is that said that like 20% of people of employees actually like do meaningful work. Like result-oriented work. Like that's like, oof.
That's your Pareto principle, right?
Yeah. Oh, damn.
Yeah.
Like that's a tough one to swallow. Oof.
I mean, it's pretty true. And even of those 20% of the employees, only about 20% of their work is like 100% of the result, So like you can apply that to a whole lot of things. And sometimes the number's smaller, sometimes it's larger, but it's the idea, that
HR Karen.
Yeah.
Had to get that one in there, huh?
Yes.
Yep.
Fair enough.
We really need that. I don't know. Anyway.
Mm-hmm.
True. All right, gentlemen, we've covered the 4 cores. I want to talk about something that we forgot to talk about last time, and that's the idea of the trust bank. So the trust bank is taking these 4 cores, putting them into practice, and using especially the results side of the house to create this metaphysical, or I guess this imaginary concept of a piggy bank that is the trustworthy piggy bank. The more full that piggy bank, the higher the trust. The more empty, the less trust. And when you do get to those points where you actually break trust with somebody, this is the idea that you can think about when it comes to rebuilding trust. It's very easy to crack open the piggy bank and lose that trust quickly. And the only answer to getting it back is you got to keep filling it up again. You got to keep putting out results. So it's, when you think about it, how about this? I'll pose you a question. What do you think are ways that you can rebuild trust with folks to refill that piggy bank? Like, what are some of the single actions, that kind of stuff?
Admit that you made a mistake.
I think it's a big one for sure.
Take responsibility for all your actions and not try to disseminate blame to others. Like you own what you did, own your actions, and then also make a plan to make amends for those actions if they happen to be bad. Because that, like for example, I mentioned before, like one of the mistakes that I made on one of my videos a while back, I made a correction on the next video that I filmed, saying like, okay, I got this wrong because, it's, I make mistakes, et cetera, et cetera. And then I actually corrected what I wanted to say, actually corrected the statement to be accurately reflective of what I wanted to talk about, and realize it had nothing to do with the video that I was trying to convey. But regardless, so like making amends and actually like doing that, like physically doing that, not just saying like, oh, okay, I'm sorry that I did this, but like actually like taking the action steps to like try to make things right again. And you may not be able to get it 100% at the time, but at the very least, so you're not hemorrhaging the trust at that time. You want to stop the bleeding as much as you possibly can, as soon as you possibly can.
I forgot the question again.
How can you, what are some simple actions that you think you could implement to rebuild trust with people?
Oh, okay. So I looked at this. My first thought was like to actually take it to a medical analogy and be like, what's the first thing you do when you see someone that's in like, critical condition? You do like the ABCs. You check their airways. You check to make sure they've got like a good breathing capability, and you check for circulation. So like, if someone's dying, the first thing you do is you address the most crucial problem and you stop it, right? So if they're bleeding, you stop the bleeding. If they can't breathe, then you stop the thing that's choking them. You have to address the most the most critical thing first. So if you don't have trust with someone, the first thing you need to do is be like, hey, person I don't have trust with, I've identified the problem and I'm stopping it right now and I'm proving it to you, right? And then you just keep doing that, and you just keep living that example over and over and over again. So yeah, absolutely. Like just basically exactly what Alan said. You identify the thing and you stop doing it, and like, apologizing and actually meaning it, take it back to Sci-Vive with the, like, how to make a good apology. You acknowledge that you like did something wrong. You say that the other person is like justified for it. And then like so the first thing you do is you say, I'm sorry, right? You admit to wrongdoing, right? You look introspectively and you communicate to the other person. Then you communicate that they're justified for like being wronged. And then you talk about how you're going to not do it in the future. And then you make steps in that direction. So like that's my quick little, but what are your thoughts about it though, Zenith? I'm going to direct your question right back to you.
Real quick, before you do that though, Will, the first aid got changed. So it's not airway first, it's circulation first.
Oh, circulation. That makes sense. Yeah, because circulation.
Chest compressions first, then airway, then breathing. Anyway,
okay.
Gentlemen, you're making your first aid instructors very sad. None of you checked if the scene was safe.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
Or call 911 or blah 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 blah. Like,
first thing you do is you pull out your fucking sword and you make sure that if it's a fucking a safe scene. This is my plastic practice sword. I've been waiting for a moment to pull it out. I've just been like fiddling with it over here off camera for a while, but like, yeah, you definitely make sure it's safe first. All right. Mm-hmm. So if you're in a combat scenario, you have to deal with the bad guys before you start fixing the good guys, because if you start fixing the good guys and the bad guys are still there, then the bad guys are going to make you a broken guy too. So you got to make sure that they're broken before you start fixing your broken bros.
Correct.
What's one of the first things? It's combat doctrine when receiving fire from the enemy. First thing to do, return fire.
Return fire. First thing. Like, it doesn't matter if you like, just general direction, suppressing fire, and then you overcome them with fire maneuver. First thing you do, you establish superior firepower. That's what it is. So if they're shooting at you with 2 guns, you shoot at them with 10. And then if you've got a machine gun, then like, congratulations, your 10 now turns into 20 or something.
And what if you can't do that?
If you can't do that, then you just fucking, you're fucked.
Yeah.
You're fucked. You have to shoot more than they do in order to establish fire superiority. If you can't establish fire superiority, then you're fucked, because then you can't maneuver. Once you establish fire superiority, then you're capable to maneuver, because then there's going to be a point where they can't shoot. While they're not shooting is when half of your guys that aren't shooting, right, they're moving to get closer, and then they start shooting. And as soon as they start shooting, then you're moving, and you slowly bound your way closer and closer and closer to wherever the problem is. And you can lob grenades in. The grenades take care of the problem for you, unless, you smoke the guys while you're exchanging fire. But the first thing you do is always establish fire superiority. And if you can't do that, then it's a shit show.
I believe the move and shoot tactic is called bounding, if I'm not mistaken.
Bounding. Yep. Mm-hmm. It is bounding.
Great example of that is the movie Heat, by the way, when they do the bank robbery heist.
Yes.
I've heard that they actually show that movie in Marine Corps training to teach people how to effectively do that tactic.
I can confirm. Or at least they did back in 2011 when I did it. So there you go.
Hey, Heat's still a good movie. Yep. A little bit of overacting from Al Pacino.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right, back to the question. Will, you turned it on me.
You
said, what are ways that you can rebuild trust with people? I think that, especially when trust is broken, I think it's more of a modern problem. People feel that the other party is just going to dash. They're just going to split. They're going to break trust and just get away and escape, whatever. I think that if you have a moment where you break trust with someone and you actually want to repair it, I think that not running away and actually showing up and being consistent in showing up, I think that is a key part to your rebuilding trust. It's getting back to that results category, and it's getting back to intention, which is that your intent is to show that you're not running away, And you're going to do that by consistently showing up. You don't have to do anything crazy, but I think that if you can just consistently show up and also do step one, which Alan had talked about, which is admit fault, be like, hey, I did this. I'm sorry. We're gonna move on, and we're gonna move on together. Not going anywhere. So being consistent, showing up, I think that's one way to rebuild trust.
I've got a spin on what you just said, and it's like, if you've been making extractions from the trust bank, then you need to start making investments, right? If you've been pulling out and pulling out and pulling out and not putting anything in, then now you got to start putting back into that piggy bank that the other person owns. So it's like, it doesn't matter how cool you think the investment is, you need to invest in such a way that they like appreciate it. You know, if I'm giving you flowers all day long and you're allergic to flowers, and I'm like, man, I'm doing my best to make them love me, and they just keep fucking sneezing and throwing them away, like, I don't know what the hell's going on here, then it's like you're doing a bad job investing back into that relationship. So you'd be like, oh, they don't like flowers, they actually like peanuts, and then they don't have a peanut allergy and they make some peanut butter sandwiches, you know, and everyone lives happily ever after. It's all about if you've extracted, then you need to give. If you care about that, if you care about that relationship, and everything again is from the perspectives or the prospect's point of view. It's not from the salesperson. You're the salesperson in this instance. You have to speak in their language and do whatever they perceive is the investment. So that's my little interpretation and spin on what you said, Zenith. That was good. I like that, bro.
The trust bank idea, I think, it's one that doesn't get introduced until later on in the book, but it's something that's kind of like hinted at over and over again, because early on in the book they give the tennis example with Andy Roddick, and they also talk about Warren Buffett and why so many people just trust Warren Buffett. And the answer is that he has an overflowing piggy bank, which is that he's been doing business honestly and consistently for so long that the reputation precedes him. That piggy bank is overstuffed to the point where other people can just immediately identify it. And because of that, they understand everything that's going on. I can't remember if it was the Warren Buffett or if it was a different example, but there was a merger. I want to say it was with Walmart or something. They did a business deal to sell the business, and they're like, oh, wow, this deal is going to take like months, maybe even a year of just due diligence to make sure the paperwork's together. And then I'm pretty sure it's Warren Buffett. He just steps up at the table. He says, I know it's good. I know they're good for it. And they're like, what? He's like, yeah, they're trustworthy people. I can trust that they have everything that we've asked for because it's what I would have done. They're like, oh, wow, this simplified everything so much.
And I think in that, if you're referring to the same one I'm thinking of, it was they both used a third party as because, like, you know, party number one trusted Warren, party number two trusted Warren, and so because of that, they were able to therefore like trust each other because they both had they had that person come. Is that the one you're talking about?
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah.
To take this one step further, the real world example or the quantification that Stephen Covey gives for the actual value of this trust is that you can quantify it with actual money, labor, value, cost, whatever you want to say. Because they were able to operate in that high trust environment, they were able to not have to redo work that the other party did just to double and triple check their numbers. That's so much money that's not spent on man hours, which is salaries, and you can actually spend that on other things that you care about. So when you operate in these high trust environments, there's an actual monetary incentive to do so in a lot of cases. And on the opposite side, if you don't trust somebody and you have to constantly check work and redo things, you're going to have to actually expend energy and resources to go over things that could have been handled swiftly and quickly when you operate in that high trust environment.
Yep. And that's where the speed comes from. That's like the speed of trust is like when you have this high trust environment, you can move fast and you can break things and you can do awesome shit. You know, when you don't trust each other, you have to do exactly like where you were just saying. You have to hire all these lawyers. You have to go through the numbers. You have to do this, do that, do the other thing. But when you've got the trust bucks in the bank, then, you know, it's like, hey, we're golden. Let's fucking roll. Let's rock and roll. We got some. Is this a good point to do some chat shout outs? We've had some people rolling in and
sure, and I'll get to my point. No problem.
Okay.
Definitely.
All right, sweet. It's actually I was gonna highlight your point. So you want me to end on that one, Alan?
Oh, sure.
Okay. Go ahead and make your point. Your point now.
This is where the hospitals absolutely fail.
Yeah.
And you know, I mentioned I alluded to HR Karen, and we have all these like quality departments, human resources, all these like extra nonsense departments that, just to get us to check boxes and, satisfy Joint Commission, all that crap. And like stems from, a very, very, fringe cases, that have happened in history, but unfortunately, that have broken the public's trust in doctors, especially if they've gone viral on the news, or they've broken trust within the hospital system. And sometimes that specific hospital comes up with this really outlandish rule based on one case that happened, that something, that had a bad result.
Mhm.
So that there ends up being more paperwork. Because one of the things that I absolutely dislike about my job is I have to sign up for a ton of shit. More consent forms, because you have to establish that form of trust between the patient and the doctor. That's a whole nother issue. And then the trust between the departments is a whole different issue, because everybody works somewhat differently and they don't exactly know how each department works. It gets all convoluted, and the communication just in general is probably the crux of the problem, is absolutely piss poor, because now we're on messaging systems, text messaging systems. We don't really call each other anymore. I would say, at least from my work. Most of our communications are through mass emails, which is like the worst form of communication. Like you can't assume that somebody understands a new rule or a new point by a fucking mass email. I barely read those. I pretty much like trash most of them anyway. So it's, and assuming that we know what's going on through the worst forms of communication possible is, even if you mandate it. And actually there was a great quote from the book about that, is oh gosh, I wish I had this readily available, but it has something to do with, you can't a society with good behavior, the rules are unnecessary, but then a society with bad behavior, the rules are unenforceable.
Yeah,
I think it's something to that effect. I'll pull it up and put it on the chat later on, but there's so much of that in healthcare where it comes down to just poor communication, lack of competence in some areas, especially when trust is broken, when something just falls through, and then I can't trust that person to do the same thing again because they messed it up royally. And just all sorts of things that happen in such a very, very high, fast-paced environment. And thus we have to have all these extra checks and balances that make things go super duper slow. Whereas in reality, this could have been done with, a handshake, one form, and in and out the door. And right now it's become this big ordeal with insurance, registrations, having to have this complex record keeping system that we have, all sorts of stuff. It's gotten so convoluted and complicated that it just makes the jobs very, very unbearable sometimes. To do all this busy work where I could just be actually being a doctor. Like it's the amount of time I have to spend with administrative work is just absolutely ridiculous sometimes. And my specialty is probably the least of it. I can't imagine what the other specialties are like when it comes to that kind of stuff, how much they have to deal with that crap. That's why I'm in the specialty that I am. So I wanted the least of that as possible, but I'll put the actual quote in the chat, but that was the point I wanted to, the basic point as to like how healthcare is a low trust system or no trust system, and why it's so fucking expensive and inefficient, and why y'all hate it so much.
There's the thing that I see inside of our little telegram for the speed of trust is, it's better to be trusting and occasionally disappointed than it is to be distrusting and occasionally proven right.
Mm-hmm.
So you operate from a much more smooth and fast perspective when you operate in high trust environments and things. By the way, for the folks at home, if you're not already in the DGen Roundtable book club, then you could just go to it's on the scrolling Chiron at the bottom of the screen right now. But if you want to join DRT book club discussions, just go to t.me/DGen book club, and you guys can be a part of our little chit chats. And speaking of chit chats and things, we got some chat shout outs. Mr. Zenith, you ready to rock and roll?
Absolutely.
All right, excellent. Here we go.
Someone else that has been on book club a few times before. We got Sam Stevenson. He says, one of my favorite thumbnail artists. That's right. His very own brother, big brother Will.
I will admit, I did try to change the thumbnail live because Mr. Zenith made a more appropriate DGen Roundtable one, but you can't actually edit it once the stream is going.
yeah.
So
Afterwards
Mrs.
you can.
Producer, yeah, Mrs. Producer will she'll make sure to change that thumbnail and make it better once the show is over. So get view the thumbnail now while you can, guys, because it's not lasting for long. But
There you go, the authentic artwork.
Yes. All right. Here's next though.
Tam, knowledge without action is just trivia. Love that one. That was actually really good. That was excellent quote there.
Mm-hmm.
Up next, we got Harley says, big fan of the channel. Much appreciated. By the way, if you ever want to come hang out with us live, we do a show called Whiskey Wednesdays. You can probably guess it's on Wednesdays when we don't have special guests on, but we usually just kick around the can for the first hour talking about topics of the day. And then second hour, we actually open up to you, the people, and you can hop on, hang out, shoot the shit with us, ask us anything you want, any questions that are just burning on your brain, ask them then. Come hang out. By the way, you don't have to show your face if you don't want to, but you do have to go in the green room. So we make sure that you're not trying to, I don't know, flash YouTube or anything. We'd like the channel to stick around. So please don't get us banned.
Yep. And that's it for the new chat shoutouts. But Dr. Allen, do you want to read this one off for the folks at home? This is what you posted up in the comments.
When cultural values are sufficient, laws are unnecessary. When cultural values are insufficient, laws are unenforceable.
100%.
It's very interesting because you can skate any law really. If you have if there's a will, there's a way. And yeah, when the overall culture is rotten and there's a lot of bad behavior going on, like the rules eventually don't matter, especially when they're not enforced. So we've got plenty of examples of that in the US right now that you could probably all think of right off the top of your head. Yeah. It's we're sort of dealing with that right now for sure.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean that's even a take on the classical saying from the founding fathers, which is that men are neither angels nor demons. Because if we were angels, we wouldn't need laws, and if we were demons, they wouldn't be worthwhile in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
The Constitution was made for a just and moral people.
I like it. That's good. That's good. All right.
Alrighty.
Hard transition.
That's it, huh? Yeah, it's a hard transition. Tell you what, we're talking about it now. We're talking about a little bit of the breakdown of societal trust. So let's run through the levels of trust that he talks about. I think we'll spend a little time on the first one because I think it's important, and that's self-trust. So is it too crazy of an idea to say that you might not even trust yourself? And I'm not even talking about being some sort of like mental patient where you don't know who you are on any given day, but actually trusting in yourself.
So this requires people do like a little bit more introspection than most are not comfortable with. And so like, if you don't trust yourself, you might not know it consciously. You'll definitely, like, your subconscious knows that you don't trust yourself, but it'll take some like real deep diving to figure out like, do I actually trust myself? If I say in my head that I'm going to do a thing, do I believe it? Right? Do I project confidence? Do I second guess myself all the time? Am I always like apologizing unnecessarily for things? You know, that's the kind of like self-trust that I think that you're referring to, right, Zenith?
I am. As a practical example, back in the old military days, we had 4-hour watches. Yep. And when you were on the 12 to 4 watch, not the 12 p.m. to 4 p.m., but the midnight to 4 a.m., you go do bunk checks, which is that as part of being on the watch at 3 a.m., because you're supposed to relieve half an hour before time, so you're supposed to show up at 3:30. At 3 a.m., the current watchstander goes and actually finds the person who's next on watch and gives a little tap on the shoulder just to double check that they're awake. It goes to the story that Stephen Covey was telling in the book, which is like, look, you're going to tell yourself that you're going to work out. You're going to wake up early and work out. But are you actually going to wake up early and work out? Or are you just going to hit that snooze alarm? Mm-hmm. You can actually tell yourself that you're going to work out, cognitively think about it before you go to bed the night before, have everything laid out. Odds are you're probably going to wake up early and work out. And if you can actually build that repetition in yourself and know thyself, know that you will sleep through 3 alarms and that you actually kind of need your buddy to check on you and say, hey, you have watch at 4. You ready to go? It's the extra thing. Building self-trust is the first layer that he talks about. And it kind of goes to the competency and results section as well, which is that, are you actually able to do the things that you want to do? And if you can prove to yourself that you're able to do these things and consistently do it, whether it's waking up early and working out, or it's any other matter of things, that's where you can start to build that confidence in yourself, and you can believe in yourself so that you can hope other people can believe in you.
Right.
I like that.
All right.
And I think that using your friend as like as a tool to help wake you up before, like if you know that you're not good enough at waking up on your own, then using your friend to wake you up is a good like in between zone thing to do. It's not something you want to use permanently, right? Because you eventually want to build the trust in yourself that like, okay, I will wake up when I need to. I will do the things that I'm supposed to. You don't want to rely on outside people to come and take care of you, right? We're all adults here. We don't want to be children for our entire lives. Like, you know, it's understandable that we need help from time to time, but it's not necessarily a good thing to do forever. You know, it's good to have redundancies, but it's better if you know for a fact that the guy who's going to be replacing you on watch always shows up on time and doesn't need any assistance. Those are the kind of people that we want on the same ship as us. Those are the kind of people that we want in our foxholes, in the trenches. Like when we're in a situation that like we're in a peck of trouble or something, you need to, knowing that the other person's got your back and they're doing the right thing without needing guidance. That is a high trust environment. And those are the type of people that everyone wants to be around. So if you want to have that type of reputation and you want those type of people to trust you, then that's the kind of stuff that you need to start doing, is improving yourself and trusting yourself and building those steps necessary and graduating past the point where you need, you know, another human being adult to come and wake you up in like a baseline activity or something like that. Alan, you got a thought?
Yeah. And to jump off that point, if you're a young man and you don't have that level of competence that maybe a 40 or 50-year-old man would have, this is the first step that you can take to build trust. Even if the competency, bucket is not totally filled, that's okay. We understand that you're a young dude, you got a lot of life to live, you got a lot of experience needed to be had. But if you can just do that simple thing of just showing up on time, being reliable, and doing the things that you say you would do, that goes such a long way. And then when I, hire people to do certain tasks and to work for me, and especially, I don't, spoiler alert, I don't do all my social media, I don't do all my editing, and I hopefully that was clear. I don't have 50,000 hours a day to do all that stuff, but I have to rely on people to get the stuff done that I want when I want it done. And I've had to go through a bunch of people, a bunch of editors to get to that, that one person that I can trust to do those things and do it properly and get me results. So, but it all starts with that though. Like even if you don't have the competency, you can build the competency later on, but if you can start to establish that first, then you'll be on your way to building up all the buckets in the 4 cores of trust.
Exactly. There's a reason it's step 1, baby. All right. I am going to breeze over level 2 because I feel like we've covered it pretty good. That's interpersonal relationships. That's one-on-one kind of stuff. I want to go to level 3. This is where we get to organizational trust. This is where you're in a company, you're in the military, something like that. This is the point where trust is now beyond 2 people. It actually, a lot of cases, actually goes to a leadership team or someone in charge. So, gentlemen, for you, when you think about an organization level, how do the 4 core, if you're in that leadership position, how can you convey to your organization that you are actually doing what you're talking about and you're trying to embody those 4 cores: integrity, intent, competency, and results?
Well, so you live it, right? And you have to be living it like absolutely. And if you make a mistake, then like, don't be afraid to say like, hey, yeah, I made the mistake, to the people that know that you made a mistake, right? Don't broadcast your mistakes to people that wouldn't know it existed otherwise, right? Because it's still good to maintain like you don't want to give people unnecessary negative information. But like if somebody sees you make a mistake, to be like, oh, I did make that mistake. You're absolutely right. And now I'm going to do better. But you really just have to live it. It's not like a onesie twosie thing that you can do here or there. You really have to embody those core tenets. So that's
fair.
my answer.
Tell you what, I'm going to flip the question on that. I'm going to flip the question on the head. What are some ways or some common things common ways that you see organizations break down trust very quickly?
Ooh, when they hide things from people.
Yep.
Their subordinates.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, because I've been on boards before, and I felt like we've had the least amount of trust with the folks who work for us and also our investors when we say when we are not forthright.
Mhm.
And those are some things that I've expressed in those meetings. It's like, this is not a good thing to do, and just from that standpoint. And yeah, the kind of especially in a tenuous time when, especially COVID was a big example of this, where it was hard to say like, oh, you have to furlough some people, or people may have to get pay cuts and stuff like that. We weren't totally forthright about it where I worked, and I was just like, no. The longer term, because we're being very short sighted here. The longer term goal to get out of all this is to make sure we keep as many people as we can and earn their trust so they don't go elsewhere, because it's very easy for people, especially with how competitive, especially now, a lot of medicine jobs are. It's hard to hire right now. If it's not money, if it's not benefits, like the way that you have to keep people is through mutual trust and mutual, just wanting to be there at work, like wanting to feel like you're making a difference. It's all the intangibles, not so much the money. Sometimes it's the intangibles of, feeling like you're making a difference, feeling that you are trusted, feeling that, you're excited to go to work for whatever reason. And yeah, saying less in that regard, where especially when things are a little tenuous, is not a good idea. Like, you have to be able to be open to to feedback, as well as listening to people, what their concerns are, and then actually acting upon them too. So it comes down to communication, listening, and just not hiding anything from people.
I think another big one that I see, especially a lot lately, is you see a breakdown of the intent core, which is part of the intent core that we talked about when we went through the self-assessment. Is, do people believe like you have their best interest at heart? Do you actually care about what happens to the people that you're working with? Mm-hmm. So from the organizational level, I think a lot of people feel like they're just cogs in the machine, and that they're easily replaceable, and that just like any second, any day, they get laid off, they get fired for whatever reason. And it's believing that the corporation doesn't actually care about them. Mm-hmm. They just believe that they're just there to fulfill a function. They're easily replaceable. This is a feeling that I see a lot echoed on social media these days. People talking about how they're in their jobs. This is the reason why they're taking the 30-minute poops to try to avoid management and avoid drawing attention to themselves, because in this scenario, the nail that sticks out the highest gets hammered down. It's stuff like that. And it's also when you see those cases of like, look, I've been at the company for like 10 years. I've been really trying to prove myself. There's this new management level open. I would love to be promoted. They're like, yeah, we'll totally hire from in the company. And then they hire someone from outside who doesn't know a single thing and hasn't been there a day. It's those things that show people that the organization really doesn't care about you. Yeah. And I think that's where I see a lot of that breakdown in the intent category. And that doesn't make those companies trustworthy to work for.
And it's not just the speed of trust that we harp on this book because it's the title of the book, but it's the cost of trust. People don't like, when you're so short-sighted about this, and you realize hiring people costs money. People quitting costs money, or severance packages cost money.
Yep.
It all, there's either a money cost or a time cost also. And and some people, like, you can even save money. Like, some people would even take a pay cut just to feel like they're not a robot. Like, you hit the nail on the head on that one. Like, just to feel like, they're part of, for lack of a better term, part of a family, but also that they're actually an integral part of this thing, and they're actually doing something meaningful. And sometimes that higher purpose, or again, the intangibles, really what could make an offer, or make a hire much more fruitful than just money, and sometimes you can get away with even like a slightly under competitive wage if you can sort of present that in a way that the job offer will give you this kind of fulfillment. And money's one thing. Yeah, money does matter, especially now in today's economy. But sometimes the intangibles, though, because everybody can compete with money, like they'll find a way to find pennies in the couch, some way to get the money. But that's really what separates people from taking one job over another, when those things are the same. and it's a very thing that we underrate a lot, especially when it comes to hiring, for sure.
To round it out, I think that the results category or the track record category it's not as negative of an example, but when there's a company that's a startup and is trying to get people to work for them and there's some uncertainty there, I think that's where you really see that results category come into effect, which is, do you want to work for a company that's been around for a while, or do you want to take the shot with this new startup that's trying to get something going? They're offering you shares of the company as a ground level employee getting in so early, but do you trust that it's going to pan out? Because there's no track record there.
It's tough. You got to start from somewhere.
True, that's true.
Tough.
All right. We're going to keep going up the levels here. The next one up is market trust. So let's say there's a market of intangible digital currency that's out there, and there are some organizations that might be in charge of regulating it. What are some actions that those regulating bodies could do that would not inspire trust within this market?
Are you talking about like a commission that maybe regulates securities or exchanges? Is that?
I think it's a good example. You want to run with that?
So what's something? So let's say that there's this hypothetical securities and exchanges commission, right, that exists. Perhaps there's one that does. Perhaps there's one that isn't. But something that like an exchange commission could do that would, I don't know, perhaps alienate a large sector of the market is if they just make a whole bunch of arbitrary rules and decide that like this specific sector of the market is breaking the law when there is no law. And doing that, what is that? Not legislating from the bench, but legislating from like the what was that thing that passed recently? It starts with a C. Man, we were talking about it on one of the shows, but it was like Concord or Conclave Clearance or I don't remember the name of it, but it was basically help me out here.
The point of what we're getting at here is we're talking about one extreme of violating market trust. And that is from the regulation side or the enforcement side. Mm-hmm. And I mention it because we're a crypto channel.
Chevron deference.
Chevron deference, baby. My favorite.
That's what I was trying to make the analogy to. For the folks Chevron, at home who don't know it, can you give a quick little
sure thing. So Chevron deference was this idea. It came out of a court case in the 70s, which was basically saying that the government has kind of a bit of a sovereign immunity from being sued if they are trying to fulfill the statute of the law. You can't really sue them on the basis of how they fulfilled the law. You have to go off some other category, like you didn't do it properly, there was some fraud or some lying going on. But it pretty much was saying the government is kind of the best people to do this, so whatever they say goes. And that's where you get to this weird extreme of trust where the regulators are actually disrupting the market to the point that you lose trust in your ability to operate in the marketplace and build projects out of fear of persecution over what is effectively just kind of this gray zone being wielded against you. Yep. That's one side of that. To flip it to the other side, it's what the regulators are designed to do, which is actually crack down on bad actors, aka scammers, fraudsters, and hucksters that our old friend Gary Gensler was very fond of going after. You can't have a market if you can't trust the people you're doing business with. If you can't trust that your investment is not going to run off with your money and go to the Caymans somewhere, that's going to be a huge breakdown in the market trust there. The marketplace is built on trust, which is that you believe that the things that are going on in the market are above board, in good standing with everyone, including the government, because unfortunately that's the world we live in. But it's two extremes that we're highlighting here. And when you get that good trust, as they talk about in the book, is that middle ground, which is that you believe you're not going to be wrongfully prosecuted just because someone doesn't like you or what you're selling, assuming you're within the bounds of the law. And then the other side is that you believe that there are people there that are actually going to be able to enforce and prevent bad actors from getting in and scamming everybody.
On this topic, we've got a chat from Mr. Pulseman that the SEC has released guidance that meme coins are not securities and are akin to collectibles. I am interested in more information. That sounds quite fantastic.
I think we actually covered this in a clip. Oh gosh, it was probably back in early February, I want to say. I don't think it was Paul Atkins. It might have been, but it might have been Scott Besant, actually. They were talking about how the previous SEC pretty much looked at all crypto as securities. Meanwhile, this guy gets in front of the mic and says, no, they can fall into many different categories. They can be collectibles, they can be novelties, they can be securities, or they can be commodities.
Okay.
I'll have to see if I can go find that clip, but it was so refreshing having
Yeah.
that show up after just the blanket state. Everything is a security. It's like, someone actually understands that there's nuance to this.
Yeah.
All right, gentlemen. I will admit, I don't think there's a whole lot to talk about when it comes to the market trust. I feel like that one's kind of self-obvious a little bit.
Yeah.
But I want to talk about some we've covered pretty much throughout the entire podcast, and that is societal level trust. Where do you, when society breaks down in trust, what do we see?
We see anarchy in the streets. We see people doing whatever the fuck they want. We see people not respecting like the judiciary or the law. You see a whole bunch of like corporate problems. Just basically no one trusts anyone, and it all breaks down. And what happens is little tiny tribes form. Instead of it being like one big, nice solid family, it's a whole bunch of small groups that are all infighting each other, right? So like you like when the American public doesn't trust each other, then we start getting like racial tension mounting. You see black people not trusting white people, not trusting Mexican people, not trusting Indian people. Not like there's a big breakdown, and everyone's like, oh man, everyone's out to get me, because people don't trust each other, as in like a general sense. And so like whether you want to take it into gender, like men not trusting women, women not trusting men, you take it into race, you take it into religion, you take it into state lines, you take it into sports ball games or whatever, right? There's tons of people that just like when we're all fed the same slop and rage bait and all that sort of things, we start finding ourselves in positions where we lose trust in humanity, and it's like, oh yeah, I would rather save my dog than my neighbor's kid from a fire. It's like people go into a different direction, and people start valuing each other a whole lot less, and they start villainizing people that they would otherwise consider fellow human beings or something like that. So I think that's the general direction.
Definitely. Alan, the quote that you had earlier, I think this is the exact spot for it.
Which one? When cultural values are sufficient?
When the cultural values is sufficient.
Yeah. Laws are necessary.
Ooh.
Exactly.
Hang on. When cultural values are sufficient, laws are unnecessary. When cultural values are insufficient, laws are unenforceable.
That is the exact point where you get breakdown of trust on a societal level. Because what it's saying is that if you operate in a very, very high trust society, you don't really need laws, because people aren't breaking laws because they just don't want to or feel the need to. When it comes to the other side of the fence, so many people are breaking laws that they become unenforceable. Tell you what, I do have a question for Alan on this one.
Sure.
Why do you think that Good Samaritan laws exist? Can you give us a quick synopsis of what those are?
Yeah, so basically, if you are trained in first aid CPR, for example, and you try to save someone's life if they're unconscious in some random place, and you try to save their lives, you're basically free from anything bad that might happen as a result of you trying to save their lives. So yeah, that's an interesting point that you made on that one. I didn't think of that initially, but yeah, you would think that if you were a good Samaritan, that you wouldn't need that kind of protection, right? Because on paper you're supposedly doing a good thing, but I guess what that protects from is if something bad does happen, it may prevent there may be a lawsuit, or that they did something wrong, or it may prevent somebody from doing it again to somebody else, because they had such a bad outcome with it. So it kind of goes with the way our legal system is right now, where everybody's just suing everybody for everything. And I think the stat is, so in the 90% of the world's lawsuits are from the United States, which makes a lot of sense because we sue for some of the most ridiculous things out there. And this is something that, you want to be a good Samaritan, like you want to have that behavior, but the fact that you're putting a rule behind it, it's sort of implying that there was someone who broke that inherent level of trust already, that now we have to have this law in place where you have to protect the person that's trying to do good, in certain ways. And there was a bunch of stories too where even if they save the person, like I guess like the victim happens to like kind of clap back and say like, oh, I didn't consent to that, or he harassed me or something like that because he touched my chest, or some nonsense like that. I don't know how true those stories are, if they're over exaggerated, but like it's that kind of crap though that kind of mucks everything up, because it's just, yeah, we all want to be.
I'll try to backfill the question a little bit here. So since we're full of movie references tonight, an example of this would be in The Incredibles. In the prologue, when Mr. Incredible is running around doing his little superhero duties, there's a guy that tries jumping off a building, and he saves the guy mid-fall by jumping and grabbing him and crashing through a building. And at the end of it, the guy sues Mr. Incredible because he like broke his neck, and his lasting pain and damages and suffering and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And what the Good Samaritan laws are is that if you are acting in good faith, not being negligent or purposely harmful, that you should be protected from any repercussion of you trying to save someone's life or help them in a emergent first aid kind of situation. The read on this from me is the read outside of the text of the law is that it is good for people to try to help and save people when they are in danger and in need, because the opposite of that is that no one's coming to save you and that you are just going to bleed out on the street. Mm-hmm. It's better for society that people go out of their way to help each other so that you can promote human flourishing and human health and life and happiness, as opposed to everyone just trying to get their own and just try not to get sued. And you just get more dead people on the street. That's the read that I have behind these laws. It's outside of the text, but it's the intent behind it.
Right. But the thing is, you're making a rule to try to change behavior.
That's where you get into the nitty-gritty.
Yeah.
I think, to pull another quote, it's the idea that if you are trying to make a law to prevent something that is immoral, you're kind of already behind the 8 ball on this one, because the doing of that act should be unthinkable as opposed to illegal, which is that if you operate in that high trust society, these things are going to be unheard of. Like, why would you not put the shopping cart back? Why would you litter when there's a trash can over there? These things you don't even have to question it. Mm-hmm. Because it's just instilled in this high trust environment, which is that you have trust that things are not going to go to crap. Just because someone else does it doesn't mean that you can get away with it. That kind of stuff. The common phrase for this kind of thing is the tragedy of the commons, which is that if you have a communal place like a park, you want everyone to enjoy the park, but also treat it the best that they can so that other people can continue to enjoy the park. If one person shows up and just trashes the park, doing whatever they want, they've ruined it for everyone else. And that is an example of a low trust society, which is that you don't trust that other people are going to do this thing for the betterment of everyone so you can all win together. It's that win-win scenario, as opposed to I'm going to win so that I get it first and I get it best, as opposed to no one else can have it because I don't want them to have it. I'm going to be the one doing it.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to throw that trash in the park because I don't have to throw the trash, and I don't have to go find a trash can. That's definitely an example of a low trust society, is when people do that sort of thing. We got a comment here from
Arceus does have an excellent point here.
Yep.
He says one person's good Samaritan can be another's interfering busybody, depending on what's going on and whether the Samaritan actually knows what they're doing.
Yeah.
Well said, sir. I think that an example of this is what's the word I'm looking for? It was the precursor to censorship, like cultural policing of like language and political correctness. This, I think, is an example of where this concept gets taken too far, which is it goes beyond actual just promoting just kind of general good, and you're actually imposing like morality on other people in very niche ways that go beyond kind of like natural law philosophy. This is where you get into the idea that you actually have to be policing other people. And when it comes to the interfering busybody, who's the author that wrote Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe?
C.S. Lewis?
C.S. Lewis, thank you. It's actually a C.S. Lewis quote where it's saying that a tyrant is bad because they're only going to do evil and you can trust them to do that evil. But if you have a moral busybody, the only restraining is their internal conscience for trying to pursue or promote that, inflict their worldview on other people. It's saying that if you think someone is like actually like canonically evil, there is some limiting factor, which is they're doing it for a reason. But if you have someone who's just being a moral busybody, the only limiting factor is their own conscience and how they want to bend the world to will to their command.
Yeah.
So again, to try to tie it back there, I know I went through a lot of random ass quotes that I didn't even get properly.
Good.
But the point is that the Good Samaritan philosophy, or operating in that high trust environment, is that you want to build trust so that you can operate in that high trust environment. And again, the speed of trust, or the cost of trust, which is that the cost of trust in a low trust environment is that you have to rebuild the park every month. If you operate in that high trust environment, you don't have to rebuild the park. Maybe you have to do maintenance like once, maybe twice, or every other year. It's that kind of thing. But if you're constantly trying to impose moral worldview onto other people, you are now reaching into other people's lives and in trying to do something to them that they would not agree with in the first place. But that also is from the assumption that people are just generally good and trying to do good and better their own lives and their family and the local community that they live in.
And this is where being good at sales and hypnosis comes into play, because then you can encourage people to not throw stuff in the park by incentivizing them to do so. So like you can hypnotize them by putting up a sign that says, if there's trash in the park goes away. Right. Or like, and that's like the definitive one. Or you can say, please don't throw trash in the park. Or you can say like, there's other things that you can put on signs or whatever. Or you can, be a good person and talk to your neighbors and be like, yeah, I saw this bad guy throwing trash in the park the other day and I scolded him and he felt very silly, and then that kind of rumor abounds or whatever. There's ways that you can sort of kind of like tweak people a little bit into the right direction, and not like, you can't just go about changing everybody all at once. Yeah. There will still be trash in the park.
But when you get to that point, sorry, again.
I was just going to say, if you're in a place where there's a ton of trash in the park, perhaps you should move. Probably not a very high trusted location. Or, maybe you should get the local dog catchers and you guys get some big nets and you go catch all these trash people and you put them in big trash bins where they can just chill out and throw all their trash away in peace. What were you going to say, Alan?
But Zenith was saying before, though, when you get to that point that we're already probably too late, it just comes down to the general cultural values and the morality, really, that's deep embedded through culture. And we, as a society, I would say our culture is pretty rotten right now, where we're just focused on hedonism, self-pleasure, self. It's all about me. It's never my fault. It's everybody else's fault. And we have a big moral void right now. And that's why we are where we are right now. It
Alan,
just goes way deeper than that.
To unpack your point, I think one of the things you can point to is a lack of social enforcement. Mm-hmm. And I think that's been one of the key things that's really broken down in the modern age, which is that we don't have that social enforcement anymore, because if you're doing all these things, especially online, there is really no social enforcement unless you go really, really far. And then you're actually talking about law enforcement. But what I mean by social enforcement is that pre-internet, you had to deal with the people in your lives. And when you have physical geography attached to your wet robot meat suit, there can come a point where you can actually be socially excluded from your local community. That was the social enforcement. Exactly. Shame. There's different societies out there. Rudyard Lynch from What If Alt History talks about this a good bit, which is that there's different societies get their social enforcement from different mechanisms. You can either have shame, you can have guilt, you can have disgust, you can have anger. All of these different things can be the motivating emotion for the social mechanism. When it came to at least American culture, probably before I was alive, honestly, the shame was a big one, which is that it's not like honor, like that, like very traditional Chinese values, whatnot, but more of shame of like, you're bringing shame to yourself and your family, and you have a reputation to uphold in the community. That was the social enforcement for it. Since we kind of live in a shameless society right now where you can do anything online, as long as you get clicks, you get paid, that social enforcement's been removed. So that's, I think, why you see some of these issues going on. And it's the idea that it's a self-perpetuating cycle, which is that once you get into it, it very easily spirals out of control very quickly. And it's hard to ratchet it back without those mechanisms.
That's why I always say, to fix healthcare, you got to fix the culture, because you can mandate all the laws you want. You can ban all the ingredients, all the shitty ingredients. You can do all sorts of crap. But if the culture is still not strong enough, it's gonna fall on deaf ears, or it's just not gonna. Or they're still gonna come up with something else, or it's just not gonna fly. People have misconstrued that online when I've said that before, but it's true. Like that, and that's really what comes down to a lot of the problems that we have is just the culture is extremely rotten right now. You can not just healthcare, but other things that we're talking about right now with the SEC, with everything. Like we get there's another saying, we get the government that we deserve, and we definitely deserve what we got right now, for sure.
What is it? Democracy is when the people get what they ask for, good and hard.
Oh boy.
Oh
man,
they're right up there.
Yeah. All right, gentlemen, we are a little bit over the 2-hour mark, but that's okay. I think.
All right.
What we're doing tonight.
Good.
Mr. Will Stevenson, can we do one last round of chat shout outs? I think I saw a few folks trickling in there. We definitely want to give you guys your due.
For some chat shout outs. I'll go ahead and
I believe up first was Mr. Yellowtail.
I've been bringing a bunch of them up, but yes, absolutely right. Our first one is Mr. Yellowtail.
Hola, compadres. Good to see you, sir. Glad you make it.
Mm-hmm.
Pulseman getting in here. Good to see you, my man. We talked about the SEC guidance. For more on that, you can definitely check out the Sunday shows. I know I am a bit of a legal and government analyst over here at the DJ Roundtable, so it's kind of my bread and butter. So if you ever see me on the Sunday show, there is a decent chance I'm going to be talking about some of that stuff. Moonpilled Rational Optics, good buddy of ours, coming in here. Shades on, thumbs up. Good to see you, my man. Always a pleasure. And Crypto Quick Chat coming in with a final chat of the evening, saying, "Yo, good to see you, my man. Glad you can make it." And by the way, shout out to everybody else there that's watching on replay, gang. Love you guys lots. Please leave us comments in the YouTube. We love seeing them. Love seeing you guys out there. And finally, I believe there's Mr. Producer himself getting in there saying, like the smash button. For all
Love
the
that smash
dyslexic homies out there.
Smash button.
Mm-hmm.
All right, is that it, Will?
That is all for the chat shoutouts, yes.
All right, gentlemen. Let's give this book a score on our mastery of 1 to 10,000 hours scale. Where do you think that this book falls for people, or specifically our crypto investors out there?
I think that people should read this book at hour 1. People should understand the speed of trust, and people should begin their lives by earning trust and building trust and getting a reputation. It's never too early to start being a good, trustworthy person, and I'll stand on that. This is definitely a book to be listened to and re-listened to. This is a good preventative maintenance book. So
absolutely.
Kind of like, you change your oil in your car every 3,000 miles. This book should, the ideas should be revisited, if not totally reread, yearly, quarterly, however often you deem necessary. But this is not a book that you read once and then be like, all full, all done. It's like, no, you're going to be hungry again, and you need to build more trust, and you're going to make mistakes. So master these techniques and master these things inside this book. That's my thoughts. Alan, what about you on a scale of 0 to 10,000 hours for a person having zero experience and a person being a master? Where should a person read this book?
Yeah, I mean, single digit number. I like, one's a good answer. But yeah, from the start, I agree with you. Keep rereading it because we all fall into our little habits, and sometimes we're not able to self-reflect on how we act in society. I've been able to self-reflect a lot through this book as well, not just the Think Like a Roman Emperor book, but this one as well. And just kind of evaluate your behaviors and seeing where things that might fall short. So even later on into the hours, when you start interacting with more people, you gain more life experience, you can also look back and say hey, well, why did this go badly? What did I do to lose this person's trust? It's going to happen at some point. No matter how much you mentally masturbate over this book, it's going to happen where you do something that's that went badly. You can better evaluate and assess as to to a fundamental level, what can you do to make that interaction better and continue to grow as a person in general? So yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. 1, 2, 3. I mean, as soon as possible, really, and just continually educate yourself and reflect on your future experiences as you grow.
Hell yeah.
I think
What about-
I'm right there with all you guys. This is a first hour book. This is one of the books that we've covered that I feel very confident showing to anybody at any point, especially if they're early on. This is I think this is a really good book because it actually, the thing, I know I'm a bit of a nerd, the numbers guy, and the ability to quantify these things and actually break it down to a tangible level and give you practical advice on how to actually work on building the 4 core competencies and having an understanding of like how everything builds on top of each other. That's such an elementary level, and the principles are so important that's why I think that this book is so low on that mastery scale for me, because it's so easily applicable even at 0 hours. Like, man, everything you do is just try and build trust. And as far as the mental masturbation goes, I think it's harder to do with this book because you're just living your life. Once you kind of see these things, you can't really unsee them, and you think about them, especially if you actually like read it and try to digest it. You're going to start seeing these things. You're going to start being able to break it down into those 4 core competencies and actually be able to identify what it is that builds trust and not just have it as just a gut feeling anymore. So,
yep. And by the way, I did recommend another one of those books, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. That's an amazing book too. So
that's on the short list.
Future, yeah, it's on the short list for sure. That's spoiler alert. That's an excellent book as well. It's a very and they books go together very, very well. So you can almost like kind of compare and contrast them when it comes time for us to analyze it.
Definitely. Tell you what, Dr. Alan Chen, where can the folks find you and what do you got going on?
So YouTube at Your Health Unplugged. We talk plenty about the faults of the healthcare system and how it's a no trust system, but I talk a lot about that from all sorts of levels. Have a Twitter page that's hopping right now at unplugged_doc. And then my Instagram page is at unplugged.md. That's where you can find me. I am in the near future traveling again. I'm going to actually be doing some podcasts live outside the United States. It's going to be an exciting trip, and actually going to take some R&R. I kind of need it right now. For those who know me outside of the cameras, you can probably agree with me that I kind of need that break because you get away from social media too, especially like, I mean, it can wear on you after a while trying to like look at the analytics and trying to make sure every video is perfect, all that stuff. I mean, it's going to be a great trip on a lot of levels. Get to meet some new people, maybe sit on the beach and drink an alcoholic drink or two. But I definitely, I'm working pretty hard lately, and I'm on weekend call this weekend too. So after that, it's just going to be, just chill the fuck out and get some nice R&R, and I'll be back hopefully soon to be all recharged and ready to show off more ideas and give you even better content. So I'm looking forward to that. That's what's happening on my end.
Love to hear it. Mr. Bill Stevenson, what do you got going on? Where can the people find you?
Excellent. What I've got going on in the near future is I'm going to be hanging out, having fun, and you guys can catch me on the DGen Roundtable streams. We stream every Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern over here at youtube.com/@DGen Roundtable. Or you can also find us on Twitter where we are streaming. And for those of you guys that are watching from Dr. Chen's channel, we appreciate you guys joining us. Again, this is the DGen Roundtable. We stream every Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday, 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern. That's our normal streaming time. And I would highly recommend folks join the DGen Roundtable Book Club in addition to joining the DGen Roundtable Telegram community. The book club is more of a notes area and a place for people to compare ideas and write down cool things that they find in the books they're reading. And then the DGen Roundtable Telegram is a place for people to have discussions and like-minded folks to meet up, share memes, talk about video games, discuss anime, sports, the newest cool things in cryptocurrency. It's mostly a cryptocurrency focused channel, but we do share memes. We do have fun. We talk about women. We talk about health. We talk about all the good stuff. So hop on over there, join our community. It's a good time. You guys can scan this QR code right here. Things that I'm doing in the near future are I'm going to be hosting next week's book club where we're going to be covering the book Chasing Daylight, which is a book about a gentleman who found out that he was dying of cancer or dying of some uncurable brain disease or something like that. And so he wrote a book about chasing daylight, which is the act of, as the sun is setting, you're going towards the setting sun to extend the time that you have in the light. So that's going to be the next book that we are covering. And then Zenith, you said that the following week we're going to be covering which book again? I had forgotten.
We were going to be covering a time-old classic, 1984 by George Orwell.
Bam, 1984. So you guys can catch us here on DGen Roundtable. May 9th, we'll be covering Chasing Daylight. And then May 16th, we'll be covering 1984. So those are the next two books on the book club list. Go ahead and get your reads in now. Go find them on Amazon. I'll be making new topics for those and updating the book club Telegram for everyone to put their notes in accordingly. And other than that, we have this, we got this magical show going on Sunday. We're going to be covering crypto news. You guys can find me there. And that's all that I've got going on. Mr. Zenith, what have you got going on? Where can the folks find you? And then go ahead and take us away.
Well, before we get to it, there's actually one person that snuck in here. Thought we wouldn't notice you.
Oh, snap. Look at that.
Mr. Iron Hands Investing, good buddy of ours and fellow Moonganger.
Yep.
Shout out to you, brother. He says,
Iron Hands. Good to see you. This is a fellow
let's
Marine.
Freaking go.
I don't know if you knew this. This gentleman is a Marine Corps veteran. So Semper Fi, Mr. Iron Hands Investing. It's good to see you, amigo. Welcome.
Yeah. Look, I'm just saying, I've met a good bunch of veterans in the crypto community. It might have to do with the fact that we perhaps have a higher risk tolerance profile, but it is what it is. Always happy to see you guys out there.
Can I take this opportunity to plug my Hex Meetup thing?
Do it. Absolutely.
Okay, so folks, if you're a Hexican, or if you're just a cool person in general and you want to meet other cool people that probably happen to know about Hex or interested in Hex, then you can go to bit.ly/Hex_meetup. You can also use t.me/Hex_meetup. They both work, but the bit.ly will take you directly to the Start Here page. Kind of explains how to use the room to the maximum advantage. Either way works, but if you're a Hexican and you want to meet other Hexicans in whatever area you're at, then head on over there. Talk about the things that you like to do, introduce yourself, tell us where you hang out, what you like doing. And then if you're going to do any cool things, then just post it in there. And then people will see like, oh, snap, this dude's going kayaking down the Rio Grande and like he's going to be passing by me. So maybe I'll like throw him a beer from the shore. Or if you want to go axe throwing with your friends, or if you want to go like, I don't know, do some cross stitching with some of the local babushkas or something, then maybe you can go and do that. But anyways, the point is go and meet Hexkins. Go to this little website, bit.ly/Hex_meetup. Go meet people. Because like Zenith was saying, like meeting all the Moongangers, meeting all the Hexkins, meeting all the Pulsicans, meeting everybody in this crypto space, meeting all the other influencers. It's just one of the coolest things that you can do in this space. So I highly recommend it. And back to you, Mr. Zenith. Where can the folks find you? What you got going on?
Will do. So, folks, we're going to be covering a lot of the news on this flagship Sunday show coming up 8 p.m. Eastern time here on Sunday, as I previously said. We have Jim Cramer saying that there will not be a recession. And for anybody that knows Jim Cramer, that might be a reason to be on the lookout. After that, though, we got a lot of ETF news coming on, whether it's things getting delayed, potentially approved, deadlines coming up. And outside of that, Jay and I, as always, we were breaking down what the heck is going on with the markets, because Bitcoin actually recently cracked 97,000. Neither he nor I had that in the cards for the recent time frame, but that's the reality of the situation on the ground. So that's what we're going to be talking about this Sunday. Be there, be square. We look forward to seeing all of you. Outside of that, I got a tea time tomorrow. We're going to be trying to break 90, not lose too many balls, but you know how that goes. Outside of that, though, folks, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at ZenithDI. Come back next week for next book club. We got Whiskey Wednesday coming up. We have a special guest. We got KG, right?
I think so. I think we got KG. Yeah. I know that Nate's the one that locked that one in. So shout out to Nate Maggette, the Ascending Man. But yeah, I'm pretty sure we got Mr. Internet Money KG, the guy who created the Internet Money wallet specifically built for Pulse Chain. So shout out to him, and look forward to seeing him. If he's not able to make it, then we will default into Whiskey Wednesday. But you guys know we're going to be hanging out Wednesday. It's going to be a good time.
That's true. Outside of that, though, Mr. Will Stevenson and I are going to be showing up on the Hex Quattro Cinco web conference Monday and Tuesday, May 5th and 6th. That's going to be over on RH Max's channel. If you happen to see him, tell him that Zenith, the distinguished investor, says hello. We're very grateful to him to giving us some spots speaking on the panels there. I'm going to be talking about some legal stuff with our good buddy Nuclear Herbs. Will, what are you talking about?
I am talking Sci-Vive, and I'm also going to be having a panel on longevity with Mr. Aubrey de Grey. So it's going to be a good time. You'll see me there with St. Wolf, Wild SJ. I believe you're on the Sci-Vive panel with me as well, if I'm not mistaken. And
yes,
yeah,
is the
it's
local
gonna be cool.
Sci-Vive hater.
I've also, you're not a hater. You have a lot of very good critiques about it. And like, I will say that you're not a hater. You're a guy who brings up some very good points, and like, they would benefit from listening to it, I think. So, you know, it would not be very survivalist of them to not have somebody who is, who has some better ideas on how they can improve. So that's what I think. And then also he had recently, RH Max put out a feeler to ask if anyone wants to do a debate on risk diodes, to which I enthusiastically responded to. I haven't checked to see if anything's coming of that yet, but I love me some risk diodes, and I think that there's way too many people in all walks of life that don't employ the proper risk diode mechanism when dealing with people or ideas or things that they don't like. So highly look forward to that. And you guys, if you want to hear more about it, you can check out our Sci-Vive streams, or I might talk about it in the near future on the DGen Roundtable. But
there you go.
Back to you, Zenith.
Hex Quattro Cinco conference, Monday, Tuesday. It's going to be a big one. Please show up, show out. It's going to be a blast. Blow up the chats. Ask any questions you want. It's going to be a great, great time. Outside of that, though, ladies and gentlemen, we know that time is your most valuable asset, so we appreciate it every time you spend it here with us, especially on a beautiful summer Friday evening like this. So thank you very much for that. And until we catch you guys next time, I hope that everyone out there continues to degen responsibly.